Start, is everybody ready?
Mark, how you doing?
All right, we're gonna go around,
Today?
today, and I guess, Dave, we'll go right around in the circles. Does anybody have to leave early, or is everybody?
I'd like to get out of here. I don't feel good, Jack.
All right, then, Mike, we'll start with you, Mike, then, all right?
Thanks. Thank you very much.
What page are we on?
Golf budget is page 117, I believe.
What?
117,
Got it, yeah. I'm sure.
117, 118.
Well, who cares? He's writing on this one.
What is it?
Really not a big deal.
Golf. Golf. Golf.
Okay, Arnold Palmer, let's start.
Hank Fergo sends his best to everybody.
All right,
He got a good medical report today, so that's a lot off our minds up there.
That's good to hear.
78-year-old man going like he's 50. He's amazing.
What page, 118?
Golf Commission this year, there's a few things that we're going to be changing a little bit going forward, being that Valley View Golf Course now is one of the premier places to golf. We've been told by a lot of our young golfing fans this is the place to be. It's really made a remarkable turnaround these last 4 years. We started actually owing the general fund almost $100,000.
Mike, what page are you on?
118.
118.
All right, we're on 118.
And as of this year here, we'll have almost $500,000 in the bank. With that, we're going to do some improvements. We're also going to be hiring more people. Hank and I can't work 20 hours a day anymore. So some of the increase in the budget is just for that. It's for help. Tim needs help, so we're going to hire a greenskeeper to help Tim out up there. We're also going to be putting on, because the volume of play has increased so much these last several years, we also like to put on more and more rangers out there. Because as play increases, we got to keep that play moving, right, Jack? You don't want to get behind the threesome and there all day. So we want to hire rangers also to keep that flow going.
I know we've had rangers, but nobody's ever kicked me in the butt to actually move along. Are they actually gonna be out there on the course,
They're gonna be out there
moving
in the
people
course.
along? Because that hasn't been the case on previous years.
That's exactly right, absolutely. So we plan to have rangers. And now that it looks like Mr. Longo is going to be opening up the facilities this year, hopefully in the early summer, we're starting to get calls already that some of the bigger tournaments that we lost over the last few years of construction going on, we're going to get some of those tournaments back. So the future looks bright. It's reflected in here. The Golf Commission did want to raise the membership fees up a little bit, not much, $20, and some of the daily fees up a few bucks. And that's because we'd like to get new carts.
Now, and what fees, where are they gonna be going up to?
$20, $25 would be $175 to $200 for the more popular ones. And green fees about $4, and rider fees $2 for non-members. For members, they stay the same.
What's 175?
Your regular membership for City of Utica residents.
And how about non-residents?
That'll go to $225 from $200.
Okay.
So $25.
Don't you have something where it's money for you, there's two different programs?
Yeah, that's it. It's basically city residents and non-city residents.
Isn't there a program where if you golf a certain amount of times and then you can golf unlimited?
Well, that's the full membership.
Yeah.
That's the full membership. Those fees are much more expensive.
And how about if you're in a league and at the city golf course?
Then you would receive the reduced rate. There's a special rate for league members. That is,
And what is that gonna be?
that's not changing. That's staying where it is.
$50 from what I remember.
So is the full membership going up too, like the whole thing?
No,
Is that,
no.
it's staying the
The
same?
full membership is staying the same. We feel that people are paying enough now as it is on the full membership. So it's basically that everyday membership where we're seeing such an increase. And like I said, we need to update our fleet. Our fleet has really taken a beating. Valley View Golf Course is a very tough course because it's so hilly. So it takes a beating. Our carts take a beating. So we got the 5 years out of the cart that we could get. So we just talked with Easy Go. Hank has been on the phone with Easy Go constantly, and it looks like they've come with a tentative proposal. The only problem is, like everything else nowadays, you put your order in, you don't know when you're gonna get your truck, you don't know when you're gonna get your car. We don't know when we're gonna get the golf carts. We're hoping early in the summer, but that's not a given, but we need to replace them.
And
That's
how- and how
gonna
many-
also jack up our contractual price in here, but.
And how
we
many
can-
carts do we have now?
We have 80 right now, and we're gonna go down to 70.
How many members do we have?
Last year, we closed at 589 members.
All right, let's go around. Katie, you could start and we'll go right around.
How many did you say, by the way?
589.
589. Yeah, that was really my only question with that. And just a reminder, everybody turn on your microphones for the listening viewers back home. I'm all set. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bob?
Thank you for coming, I have no questions.
Thank you. Nice
Joe?
seeing your son there, too. He's a good little golfer.
Mike, you mentioned we're expecting tournaments to return to a level from a few years ago. Is there a percentage attached to that at this point?
Well,
Percent increase, I should say.
yeah, the tournament line, I mean, we conservatively put it at 30,000. It should be up almost twice that. It should be up almost twice that. We purposely knocked it down these last few years. We bumped it up a little bit this year. But hopefully, if our tournament season does come back, 50,000 is easily doable for us. We're really not after a lot of tournaments. We're basically a daily golf course facility up there. We go after the daily golfer. We want to go after those individuals that love to play the game of golf and not come up on a weekend and can't play because there's tournaments going on. We have great golf course facilities around the area that go after tournaments. And so we kind of take in the daily player. It's been working out fabulous for us. It's one thing about this area. We have a lot of good families and a lot of good golf courses in the area, and we help each other out. So if we're busy, we'll call up Twin Ponds, or we'll call up Stonebridge, and we'll call up some of the other, can you take, and so we got a nice working relationship with Stonebridge and Crestwood and all these other places. We got good families, good people, and now Valley View is in the mix, and that's what we're so proud of. Hank Fergo's a legend. Who can deny that? The Fergo name goes back to the 40s. His uncle was a US PGA Open, US Open. So, you know, we have that big asset that you can't put a dollar amount to. But, you know, Valley View is Hank Fergo, the Fergo name in Valley View, and we're taking advantage of it.
And I appreciate that. And on the expenditure side, we talked about the golf cart fleet. What was the last lease in terms of years for the golf carts?
It was a 6-year lease,
Okay.
Councilman, that we negotiated, but normally after 4 years, we try to enter into a new lease, and that's what we're doing now. Our vehicles are 4 years old. This is the 5th year they're going to be, so we've been talking with EasyGo, like I said, to renew the fleet.
Has any consideration been given to purchase? Has something been done in terms of
I'll be
comparing
quite
the
honest
two?
with you, Councilman, I would love to purchase.
Okay.
I can make more money that way. However, the only way I feel that we can purchase it is if the golf becomes part of the City of Utica Parks Department, because we would have a garage, we would have to hire a mechanic. But to purchase vehicles means you have to have people to work on them also.
Some of the, was sticking with the carts, just last question. So they're electric carts. I don't see an electric line for expenditures. Do we have any idea what
No,
the?
no electric carts. We're sticking with their.
Oh, just gas?
Just
Okay,
gas.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Stonebridge, you're up.
Oh, Frank, I didn't see you here.
Since COVID, golf's just boomed, so it's just getting better and better every year. You don't even have to try anymore. There's people just, golf's crazy right now. So raising the price definitely ain't gonna hurt them. And they're still probably one of the lower ones around. And he is right, Hank's unbelievable. Hank's a great asset, there's no question. I don't know about Mike, but Hank, Hank's a great asset. All right, that's it.
All right, you're up, Tiger Woods.
I don't play golf, so I don't have any questions.
All right, Joe.
Simple thing. So you're telling me about the two programs, the main, you called it the main program? I know it's unlimited, and then there's a certain amount you pay if you golf so many times.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that one and the person that comes and pays every day, like what you're talking? What's the difference?
It doesn't
in that?
join as a member.
Yeah, right, so,
Yeah, there's someone that doesn't join as a member, we encourage them to join because, for instance, instead of paying $40, $50 for an 18 round of golf, you pay your membership $175, $200, whatever it is, and you get to pay $25. So, you know, just do the math, and you quickly find out, if you're playing golf once a week, you're
Right.
crazy not to join, right?
right. And what's the unlimited one? How does that
The
work?
unlimited one is you pay the $1,300, $1,400, and you just walk in, take your tee time, and you got your cart and your green fees all taken care of, and your membership on your leagues,
So that includes the cart, that 1,200,
everything,
1,300, okay,
everything, includes everything.
okay. Thank
And
you.
even a signed autographed picture of Mr. Hank Fergo himself comes with the membership.
Is that it, Joe?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mark, you're up.
Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Mark, Councilman?
Yeah, how much? are
Sorry
you-
to see you're leaving, Councilman. You've been a great councilman and a great friend for the golf course.
Well, after this, maybe not. How much are the yearly memberships this year?
How much are the,
Yearly memberships, you know, people that actually play.
It-
Yearly memberships.
it depends on what level what level are you talking?
People that play every day, you
Yeah,
know,
that's our regular members. All right,
Yeah.
that's going up to $200
$200 a year or a season.
a season, yes.
From what?
175.
All right, and our carts, I got this, is there an RFP out for the golf carts? Is that done yet?
We've got a, we don't use an RFP because we stay with EasyGo, because we have parts and everything for that. So we continue with EasyGo. We still have a lease with EasyGo, so we're renewing the lease, and that's what we're negotiating right now, at what price and availability.
So, the audit that we did 6, 7 years ago before you were there, have all those problems been fixed?
I believe so.
I mean, there's still gas being brought up, you know, and they're trucking it by 55-gallon drums.
Well, one of the things that I told Mayor Palmieri when he asked me to go up there is I don't want to get reimbursed for anything. No mileage fees, no gas fees, no nothing.
Oh, yeah, there's no car.
I don't want to do any of that stuff. I relish the opportunity to go up there as a manager, and I don't care how many times I got to travel to go get parts or travel down to City Hall, you'll never get a bill from me.
So all that's been fixed.
Oh, there is no one that gets gas up there other than what goes into the equipment.
So, I mean, but they were transporting gas from down at the garage up to, you know, fill up the,
Well, we still do. We have a little gas cart.
you have a
that
gas
we
cart.
use. We do have a gas cart that fills up. Tim regulates the amount of mileage or the amount of gallons that goes in. That's all marked down. And then it comes down and fills our carts up. We're looking to put, and we may have talked with you, I might have talked to Mike Mahoney on this, a 500-gallon tank where, you know, where we park our reserve carts, putting a $500 gas tank there, because we were told that some of these fuel facilities will give us the tank for nothing if we buy off of them. So we're looking in that. But I'll be honest with you, Councilman, I don't know if I want a gas tank down in that area. I like it where it is, way up by Tim's barn up there. It's off the beaten track and not by the road, you know what I'm saying?
Has that meter been fixed?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And only one person there, or how many people have keys to that?
I believe right now.
Just you?
We have one person, because we go gas up at 5:30 in the morning, and Tim and his father.
And how much fuel do we use every year?
How many gallons? Well, I could tell you probably at the heat of the season, we'll probably use 200 gallons on the fill-up on a really hot week, and the rest of the time it's like 50, 60 gallons. And I gotta say though, these new carts today now, you don't have chokes. Remember you used to pull the chokes? You don't have that. Everything is electronic now. So the mileage on these carts today is phenomenal.
So where's that come out of for fuel? I don't see this.
There's a gas and oil line in there.
Is the same, gas for the equipment?
Yes.
For the golf course?
Yes,
Comes out of the same.
yeah, all the gas and oil
Where
is
is it?
in that one line.
Next page?
It's 463.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm on the other thing. All right, so I'm looking at the average season memberships, you're at 86.23, actuals 24.97, actuals 107, and if you, the $200 in memberships, and you divide that into 100, I mean, that's a lot of memberships over, I know Mr. Longo's got, that thing's opening up, but, I mean, that's a lot of memberships coming in.
We start with, at 4 years ago, we were at 263 members, and now, like I said, at 589. And like Councilman Carcone said, golf has just caught on. And what's nice about it is that you're seeing a lot of couples coming around, a lot of younger students that are still in high school coming around. It's really, at one time it was the grumpy old white guy. You don't see that no more. It's a whole diverse set of people now that are golfing. It's really come around.
So, the next, you got transfer to the fund balance on page 138. What's that mean?
The transfer from fund balance was instituted because we did not have a capital program. So I went to Diana and I said, we have all this money sitting in our bank account. Tim needs equipment. We need to work on the golf course. So she just got done setting up a capital program for us. So you won't see any more money taken out of the fund balance, a bank account. We're going to have, what did we say we're going to put in there?
So the city, the question is, the city's still taking money out of the golf course?
No.
That's over with?
That has not been since I've been there.
Okay.
Once we paid off the $100,000 that we owed them, Councilman, that was it.
Yeah, no, they get
And when's the
paid out.
city championship coming back? Because that disappeared a few years back, and it just disappeared. Now, I guess it's got to be a pro to run it, right?
Well, believe it or not, Hank Fergo has the rights to the city amateur championship.
But he doesn't carry a card. No, he doesn't.
Well, he doesn't care, but that has nothing to do with having the rights to the city championship. That's a corporate type of thing. And now that our facility now is brand new, you may see that come back because we've been asked to do that.
When do you think it's going to come back this year?
I don't know if it'll be this year, but I think within 2 years it'll be back in full swing.
Because you got to have a pro to run it, which we don't have a pro.
We have that?
I don't know about that. I don't know about having a pro run it because that's a corporate thing.
We have a Snowbridge championship. We don't have.
No, the city championship was a big deal
City amateur.
back in the years, and then it just disappeared. And,
I'll find out.
Probably disappeared during COVID.
no, it disappeared before COVID.
No, from what Hank tells me, because I asked Hank several times about that, the interest just dwindled down. And what it would cost to put the tournament on, it was so expensive, and then if you're only getting 15, 20 people to come out, it just wasn't.
But you just got to understand, we have all these memberships, and Valley View's blowing up because of the Longo thing, and all of a sudden, I mean, you're saying two different things. All right, so, let's see what else.
I don't think I'm saying, hold on 1 second. No, hold on 1 second. I don't think I'm saying two different things. What I'm saying is, and maybe let me clarify what I'm about to say.
Okay,
Being that now that the facility has been built, this beautiful facility, and it was supposed to open up last year, and now it's not gonna open up April 1st this year, there's delays. So before we start booking permanent things, a major thing like a city amateur, we wanna make sure everything is running, so now we can set a date. So can we do it this year? I'd love to, Councilman. More
Well-
realistically,
well, the years before Mr. Longo, took over the Valley View and cleaned it up, we could never have any tournaments up there because there was no way we can get food up there and tents and everything else because that's the way it was. But when I looked at the contract with the last Valley View person that ran it, that was part of his duty, but it never happened. And so on the weekends, the tournaments are always on the weekends, and there's also weddings going on in the summer and everything else. What I'm getting at, are you gonna allow other businesses to go up there and run, you know, if somebody's having a tournament and they want Lukens or whatever organization to go up there and run it? I mean, it never happened before, and is that part of the, you know, Mr. Longo's thing with the thing?
He's
No.
got, Councilman, he's got exclusive rights to that whole facility. We can't even go out and sell soda out there without Mr. Longo's, he's got it all.
He's got it all, and that's in the contract.
That's in the contract.
So when
He's
people
putting
want,
his liquor license on the line, he's putting everything on the line, so he's got exclusive rights to everything. And technically, because I wanted to put a, not a lean-to, what am I looking for?
Pavilion?
A pavilion up over there, so that we, on small tournaments, you know, 50, 60, 70 people or less, they could have hot dogs and hamburgers out there. We can't even do that.
I know, but under the Paul Mary's administration, he talked about that pavilion for years and
Yeah.
years and years and years, and it never materialized. So when people have tournaments up there, they can't bring food or nothing up there because it's just never happened. All right, so we lost a lot of tournaments to Stonebridge, we lost a lot of tournaments to, you know, Twin Ponds, because we could never have food. It just never happened. So, I mean,
You're preaching to the choir, sir.
well, I know, but I've been hearing the same song and dance, and I've been in the council for 12 years, and, you know, it's, just, you know, nothing's changed in 12 years.
I can't, no.
So I'm not sure if I'm getting the Festa Kunden, you know, just tell me what I want to
disagree
hear.
with you. I think Valley View has made a tremendous comeback from what it
Sure,
was.
I know, I get it.
Tremendous. So don't tell me that it hasn't changed, because it's changed drastically. And I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that if there's a way that Hank Fergo can bring back that city amateur, he will bring it back, and it'll be the best city amateur that the city's ever seen. And now that you have a young crowd coming in, and a lot of a mixed, like I said before, we would like to have a couples league, we would like to have a ladies tournament. You're gonna see that now with Mr. Longo up, and you know that, Mark, I mean, you know that. He's bringing an excitement up there that we haven't seen in a long time, so things have really changed.
So there's
I don't
no,
buy the fact that the last 12 years, there's no comparison, none. And you could ask any of my golfers that too.
yeah. So the next question I have, what was it? I had it on my mind for a minute. No, I guess that's it.
Thank you, sir. And again, thank you for being here. I know every time we've came to you, Mark, you've always been there to help us.
You all set, Mark? Samantha? Okay, I just had one question. Last question. The biggest issue I think you've had up there, am I on? The biggest issue I think you've had up there, unfortunately, is having some carts stolen
Joyrides.
and people driving over the greens and things like that. Have you put a plan together, or what have you
Well, the
done?
carts
to-
are all now gated, but if it does happen again, we're just gonna have to hire a night watchman.
And what, was it, were they gated before?
No.
So when did they build a
Last,
fenced-in system?
last year, and even with them gated, they were cutting the gates down. They can now bring drills, cordless drills now, with the grinding wheels and cut locks off now.
Is that what they did last
Yeah.
time? And then, do we have cameras up there?
Yes.
That
Yes,
just
Frank,
look right at the,
Frank Matullo has, we have now the latest high-speed internet capabilities up on the building. Plus, he has along Valley View, there's smart node poles. So we have cameras through the place, but let's say it starts up again, we will hire, you know, I asked Mayor Palmieri and I asked Mayor Galimi that if we need to have a night watchman up there, we need to have a night watchman.
is there any type of alarm system up there if they do open the gate, or they go into that particular area that would alarm would go off and maybe the police were notified?
The police had their vehicle up there
No, I'm talking about, is there an alarm system that would
For
notify?
inside the shop, we have alarm system now.
But nothing inside
Nothing
inside?
outside over there.
Are you looking into anything like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Who you talking to with that?
Frank Matullo has general
Security.
security
They're looking
general-
into an alarm system?
for the alarm system.
That's
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Any, last call, any more questions? Thank you, Mike, appreciate it.
Well,
and
thank
I
you
hope
very
you
much
feel better.
for allowing me to go first. Thank you.
All right. Dave, we'll take a minute till he's ready,
Thank
and then
you.
we're gonna call on you. then.
You said you had one question, I counted like 7.
Well, it was a big question.
It was a series of, it was
Broke-
one
broke
line
it
of
down.
question.
It was a novel, it was a novel. All right, Dave, you're up. You wanna give us a quick briefing, what's going on, and then, we'll start asking some questions.
Okay.
And give us a
What
page.
man?
Thank you.
It should be page 81.
Page 81.
So this year's budget hasn't really changed that much since last year's budget. Workload has been quite steady. Currently, right now, we're helping the DPW clear some streets and troubled areas for traffic and parking, actually. City facilities keep us very busy trying to remove snow at the firehouses, the police station, and the city courthouse. This past weekend, we opened up Val by Alice for the first time in probably 5 to 6 years. We have some other work that needs to be done up there that will be done over this year's budget, current budget year. And so we've been very, very, very busy. So I will take any questions.
Going through my notes, so if we can come back to me on the parks one. I think I'm all set though. Thank you.
Bob?
No, I'm good, thanks for coming.
Okay, sir?
Joe, you're up?
Yeah, could we move on to Councilmember Carcone and follow up in a few?
Okay. Frank?
I've got nothing. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Everything's good. I got
Lennis?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Mark?
Yeah, I got one question. Under 44103 on page 81, you got trees and shrubs, and we approved $75,000. Now, I'm just giving you the benefit of a doubt, $250 per 2 caliber, whatever tree. That comes out to about 300 trees in the city. I don't think you average that many trees being planted, and we did a resolution a couple of years ago, when you take down a tree within 1 year, especially in areas where there's no trees, where they took down a tree, it's supposed to be replanted.
Deadline is not specifically for trees.
I understand it's trees and shrubs. I know.
Flowers,
Bunch of things.
it's not just.
I know. So how many trees do you do every year?
The city forests plant anywhere between 25 to 50 trees a season. That could be spring and or fall.
All right, so the trees and shrub line, that's not labor, it's just trees.
That's the purchase, the trees themselves.
Okay, and the shrubs, I'm not sure what the shrubs are, because once you plant shrubs, some die, some survive. But that's a lot of money for trees, and only for 50 trees a season.
So again, that line is used other than just trees and shrubs. That line is used for the herbicide program throughout the city, spraying weeds to fertilize the lawns, all the grass areas, all the parks, ball fields.
Now, who does that? Is that the city, or is that contracted?
That is a contractor, but we do take it out of the shrubs and tree line. The trees are purchased through a contractor. That also covers the landscaping for the ice rink. Phase 1 and 2 are taken out of this. Phase 2 will be done this year. It takes care of some of the landscaping out in front of City Hall. So it's used for a variety of other things other than just a particular tree.
And what kind of trees are we planting now around the city?
It's an open palette, meaning that it could be large canopy trees like red oaks, autumn blaze maples.
Don't they have the long roots that tear up the sidewalks?
It depends, it's all site specific where they go. And then we have smaller trees that we plant in the tough areas between curbs and sidewalks where we don't have a lot of room. We also have a $2 million tree grant, a federal tree grant that we're working with, that we're hoping to break ground this year with.
Well, we did Tree City USA a couple of years back. Has that ever come to fruition, or is that just I'm not saying it's not you guys, a certain council person put that in, you know?
So Tree City USA that has been started since I've been with the city every year, so that's almost 28 years. I finally have Utica Green working on that whole process for me, and we're gonna partner with the Conservancy there to get it going. We created the tree board, which was supposed to be done. We do an Arbor Day festivities, so we're all there. The only thing I gotta match it is there's supposed to be a 2% match for Tree City USA. So my budget has to be 2% of my budget has to be for Tree City USA to do activities.
Are you guys working that well with the Conservancy, or are you working better with Homestead?
We are working with two conservancies. One conservancy is Olmsted City, and then there's the other one, Utica Green. And that's moving forward with both of them. They both have projects. One has major projects within Proctor Park, which eventually will be coming to the Common Council to be heard. And the other is still doing actually programming for the City Parks Department.
Well, the reason why I bring a lot is because I asked for a couple of trees to be planted, because some constituents asked for some trees to be planted for the last couple of years, and it never happened.
Okay?
I'm just curious why, you know, after I gave addresses where they wanted them, and I did it in the spring and I did it in the fall,
Okay.
but it never happened.
Never happened. I'd have to check to see why.
Well,
If
But
the
that's
site's
all-
available, I will definitely plant the tree.
no, I used to be known as a tree guy, but I know trees protect our asphalt, our roads, and that was done with a nice,
Presentation, when we did the tree inventory.
they said they.
Davy tree.
Yes, and they protect our streets,
Mhm.
and that would be the next evaluation when we go to engineering, but it just never came. I mean, there's some streets that I know have no trees on it whatsoever.
That's true. That's true.
I think St. Jane is one of them. I mean, there's nothing, you know, taking up the water and everything else. It's just not happening. So I'm not sure if there's actually, I don't know. I see trees getting planted on the parkway, but that's not coming from the city. That's coming from the Conservancy.
The center mall is from the Conservancy,
Yes.
from benefactors that contribute, yes.
And I also know that when you gotta plant a tree, it's gotta be watered for a certain amount of time until it takes hold.
That's correct.
And you don't have the manpower to actually water those, and that's why not many trees are getting planted throughout the city of Utica. Is that
That's
a
one
fact?
reason, yes.
So, is there really 50 trees getting planted in Utica?
Anywhere between 25 to 50,
So probably more 25 if that.
yes.
Okay. That's all I have. Everything else, you know, guys do a great job, but, you know, I've always been a tree guy, and I just don't see it happening. And like I said, I've been here for a long time, and that same street's been bare since I've been on them.
Okay. Well, I know the planning process for the federal grant covers a lot of the trees, especially in St. Jane. So.
I'm just using St. Jane as an example, but there's other other streets in Cornhill
Yep.
and everything else. But when we take trees down in South Utica, you know, those big, huge canopy trees, according to what we put in as a resolution as a common council, within 1 year, it's supposed to be a replant, so we don't lose that canopy.
Okay.
And I don't think it's happened. But that was always been my concern, because when you take a tree down, you got within 1 year to replant another.
Right.
But I don't think that's happened. So that's why I was curious about all that money for trees. And I'm not sure, you know, I'm just asking those questions.
Gotcha.
I know you got me. Okay.
I got you.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Any last questions?
You said the tree grant should go in this year, hopefully?
We're hoping, yes.
And that was how many trees is that come to?
2,000.
It's supposed to be 2,000 trees, but currently it's a federal grant, so we're not sure, everything's on hold at
Right.
this point.
So
So
that's fair. And I have a lot of constituents, especially on the west side, who are thrilled with their new trees this year, so thank you for all those efforts. And yeah, that's all. I'm all set.
Bob, did you have any questions? Joe, you wanted us to come
Just-
back to you, right?
Yeah, one follow-up on the tree program. What's the typical planting season for the trees, months-wise?
Actually, springtime would be any time between April and the end of May. And that's usually trying to get the trees tagged sometime in the wintertime, so sometimes it's a little rough to get out to the nursery. And then we look at August to early October.
And how do we have a disease going for the trees downtown? How is the status of that?
So far, it has been somewhat eradicated. We haven't seen it. Certain trees are susceptible to certain diseases all the time, so we try not to plant those types of trees.
How did the new trees go through the Bear Street?
So far, so good.
It looks good.
I mean, we plowed a lot of snow on top of them, so I gotta go back and reassess, see how they did.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You don't have to do goals or.
True. So that was parks. I still have, if you wanna talk about playgrounds, tennis courts, pools, ski chalet.
Give us a rundown.
Basically, playgrounds hasn't changed at all, for the most part.
Page,
We're looking at just maintaining what we have out there.
page, John.
What page?
Page 83.
All right, playground is 83, all right, go ahead.
Tennis is 84.
Tennis.
85 and 86.
Well, let's go with the playgrounds, if you could give us a rundown on that.
Okay, playgrounds, continuing effort to upgrade the safety surfacing under all our swing sets at all the major playgrounds. That's every year, it's alternating years when you have to refill up with the wood chips. It's the lowest cost benefactor that we can have for our safety servicing. Go to the next step with port in place, you're talking big money, so we go with the wood chips.
It's still legal to go with the wood chip.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This year is our year that myself and my two recreation guys go to class to be recertified in playground safety certificates, or licensing actually. We have our splash pad this year. It ran all last year. Hopefully it made it through this winter with no major plumbing issues over in Proctor Park, so it'll be something to see what happens there. And we have our new splash pad at Chancellor Park that made it through the first winter, and we'll have to assess plumbing issues in the spring. Hopefully, the contractor told us how to shut everything down so that there would be any problems in the spring, so we'll see how that goes.
What was the, are you going around? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll go around.
I'm all set.
Joe?
I'm good, thanks for coming again.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah.
What was,
Joe, you're up.
line, 103,
Okay?
the overtime?
Yes.
It's almost doubled, what was the reason for that?
In the summertime, we're constantly mowing just to keep on top of the grass. And then this past winter, since we've had such a hard winter so far, it's really reflected in the overtime line. Because we're working pretty much the same hours as that DPW is.
So that overtime.
But this is
includes
for-
what you were
Yes,
helping Mark.
yes. Yeah.
Joe, go ahead, you had a question there about?
No, that's, I'm just saying.
That reflects this budget or last budget, the overtime?
This last budget, going into this budget,
This year.
this budget, I asked for a little bit more overtime, but we brought it back a little bit. And that's really to cover the summertime expenses of mowing grass. Or, I'm sorry, playgrounds it's to cover the maintenance of the ball field, especially in the springtime. There's 3 guys that do the ball fields, and there's, I think, 14 ball fields. So we usually go over a little bit at night.
So, I mean, you're already at 77,000, you got another month to go, you requested 70, you only approved 40, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then the swimming pool?
Swimming pools are 85. The only major thing that we're doing there is replacing, at 2 pools, the new CO2 systems that we need for the pools. And that's the big reflection on 402. Again, we run 3 pools the North Utica pool, or the Fitzgerald pool, Buckley and Addison Miller.
You heat the pools?
We do not. We heat the buildings inside. We were having such problems with the mechanicals every year to start the pools up, and it's because of the moisture that gets built up in there. So we had to put a heater in there to dehumidify the whole basement, pretty much.
And how many people does it require to staff a pool?
You have a manager, you have at least 7 lifeguards, you have the checkers. So Youth Bureau staffs it with probably 14 to 18 kids per
pool.
Per pool.
Yeah.
Bob, any questions? Joe? No. Anyone else? I do. Go ahead. So,
Let me ask you a question, Dave. Since you had all this ARPA funding, what's the manpower you have in parks right now?
There's a total of 19 people.
Mm-hmm.
3 of those people go to the recreation department.
Uh-huh.
And then the rest of the parks department is divided up between laborers, light equipment operators, a mechanic, and a heavy equipment operator.
And it's been that way for
Tree
how many
company.
years?
The total positions has been the same since 1968, in 1968 budget.
Okay, so.
The titles have changed, that's
So
all.
since we had this ARPA funding,
You didn't hit any additional positions?
So since we had this ARPA funding and we built all these new additions, the ice ring, the dog parks, anything else that was put in throughout the city for the citizens of Utica, you gotta maintain extra stuff now with the same amount of people.
Correct.
Okay, so that needs to be for the record because we added all this extra infrastructure with the same amount of people. All right, and the dog parks, how many people that it takes to run that on a weekly basis? I mean,
It's just put on the regular trash route.
mm-hmm,
We still have to mow that area.
yeah,
It's a little extra more that we didn't mow before.
uh-huh. And the ice ring, what's that effect on you guys?
Ice rink has been really no effect on me at this point.
Well, we gotta put someone there to receive the funds, right?
No, that was through
Working solutions.
Working Solutions through the county.
Most of those are volunteers.
We have
It's doing
the
ice
cleanup.
rink.
Okay.
You have to.
We do
every
some
day you
minor
have to
cleanup,
do
and
the-
if there's light snow, we do a cleanup.
And the ski chalet, I mean, we gotta provide, same working solution? Does that come under contracted services?
No, ski chalet would be through city forces and the youth bureau.
The youth bureau. So.
They help out.
You're actually doing more for the infrastructure that was put in Utica with the same amount of people.
We are, yes.
And what's the cost for the dog parks? What's the cost to maintain those on a yearly basis?
That I do not know.
We don't
It's-
know.
no.
I mean, with mowing and everything else and cleaning up,
It's really,
I mean, you guys clean up feces in there? I mean,
we do not.
so did it stay
It's
there?
somewhat, it's already policed by the people that use it. I just have to make sure the trash receptacle is cleaned out, or I'll get the phone call all the time,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, you do.
Winter time too.
No, what I'm trying to get at is that you got the same amount of people, but you have more infrastructure to deal with now. And that wasn't put into the plan when they start building all these things. And you got the same amount of people bringing in more stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta take care of more stuff with the same amount of people. And that's what I'm trying to get across.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm getting at, the last administration actually built this, all these infrastructures, and not thinking about the manpower to run those things properly. Is that that's what I'm trying to get at,
I understand.
okay? So, and that's all I have, okay? Thank you.
all right. Anything else on anything?
The skate parks, you don't have to mow, right? Yeah,
Skate,
that's
there's-
all.
There's no budget for skate park. It's
Garbage there.
As long as everybody wants to have the debate,
It's
I'll
just,
save the
reg-
rest
it's
of
on the
debate
garbage
for-
route, we pick up the trash.
Yep.
There's a little bit of mowing, it's, the same mower goes through there, it's the same
No, the
area.
rubber in the middle of that was great.
Yep.
That absorbed
Easy
the water.
maintenance.
So, yeah, great, thank you.
Still more work.
Are you doing the ski chalet?
Not really.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Ski chalet. We're about left.
Page 86.
Oh, page 86, ski chalet.
That sounds like more work.
Zero.
Ski chalet is really, we have the 3 rec guys pretty much run that ski chalet. Occasionally, you may have to bring a parks guy in to help out here and there with running the lift to help out. This upcoming year, we're hoping to get maybe Working Solutions, some help there. And it also depends if we get everything running as far as the rope tow, the chairlift.
So the contractual services on 441, on page 86, you know, we went, I know we just opened it up, we had 81, then 1,000, and then the actuals for this year is 48,000, the ski chalet. And the department requested, you got 50 grand on that with the mayor approval. What's that go for? Because we got people running it already. I mean, do we oil it? I mean, what do we do?
That 100,000, I think, was supposed
No,
to be.
50.
Well, last year's 100,000 was thinking that we had Magic Ice coming to run the ice rink. This year coming up, they will not. The city will run the ice rink.
So what's the contractual services, $50,000?
So the contractual,
You're contracting somebody to run it. There's somebody, I believe, from.
I thought there was Working Solution, it was volunteer.
No,
no, that's,
I don't know who's running the chalet, but I would imagine
You
the money
just
for
said the
that
3
comes out of
people
there.
in the,
there's 3 people that run that complex. So the contract services comes with the guy that maintains the lifts, comes every year to make sure that works. We also now have someone that is contracted to help us with the ice on the ice rink, to cut the ice. And we're learning from him, so hopefully we won't have to use him next year in this budget.
would it cost that much for a short season of 3 months or whatever?
And he's gotta do it
Multiple times, yes.
It was gonna cost us a lot more money with you guys.
With-
We saved money doing that, right?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
We
Yep.
didn't have the same bony, we didn't have.
No,
all
we
that,
didn't.
so we had to
It was-
fix all that.
Didn't we send somebody down for training for Magic Ice?
Magic Ice, we were gonna do it for 1 year and wouldn't do it unless they did it for a 3-year contract.
But no, Dave, didn't we have an employee who was actually trained on it?
We did. We had one individual went down to learn the point of sale system, because we thought that Magic Ice would help run this,
Right.
and we've changed that.
So, all right, yeah.
All right, any more questions on this? Pool? Excuse me, the ski chalet? Are we
Still
moving on?
talking? Real number?
I'm done.
And the youth?
No, that would be Chet. the contract.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks, John. Let's hope so. No, not me.
All right, the engineer.
Yes, sir. I guess we'll start with page 32.
32, all right, we're gonna go to page 32.
Thanks, John. No, I'm good.
All right, give us a little synopsis of how things are going and what your future plans are, and then we'll start asking some questions.
I mean, right now I've got the paving crew building lists for micro paving, lines, striping, repairs, and our mill and fill program.
Micro paving?
Yeah, micro paving like on Herkimer Road, on the backside going towards Schuyler. We did a patch of micro paving last year, or 2 years ago on that.
2 years ago.
It's different, it's a different makeup, it's a cold patch, not a hot mix, like how your regular mill and fill, they'll grind and then run hot mix as your binder and your top coat. The micro pave is a cold mill, so you'll notice like you don't get the seam in the middle of the road. You don't have that on Herkimer Road on the farther side, where you'll have it on other areas, because you get a cold joint, is what they call it. starts to cool before the last hot mix comes in.
Is that better than
I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? Depends on who you talk to.
I just wondered
People,
who said I didn't know they were there.
Barrett is a hot mix. They say hot mix is the best, and Soup Coat is a company we use for cold mix, and they say cold press is better. So it depends on who you talk to. I like. I think they both have their place, but I do like not having the cold joint. You see on the Parkway it separates, and now it's just going to cause more problems the worse it gets, right? As the roads deteriorate even more. But that's my personal opinion.
Atlantic Custom on Broad Street gave us a real understanding of how that works. And
Yeah.
they were very helpful to put together a paving plan, things like that. They can explain to us a lot of those things, so. Always go to them, we can always go to them for.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a tour for one of these companies, Soup Coat specifically. Beneficial for me as I haven't walked through the facility yet. I know about it, but I haven't actually touched it, seen it, you know, so. But we're doing striping on that. We've got sewer separations coming. We're helping stand up this MS4 regulations with the EPA and the DEC, which is gonna affect the whole city. Everybody, police, fire, so the EPA, we separate our storm sewers, our sanitary and our stormwater, right? So now, the regulations of which, how they're policing it and want us to monitor it, report on it, both city-owned property and private property, actually. We'll get to that in a couple weeks, right? But, so the way we have to police it, we're under higher scrutiny. That's the idea. So currently, we're trying to stand that up across all the departments that it affects and get in front of the EPA so we don't get fined $40,000 a day, which is not gonna be good for us. So that's kind of what the engineers are doing at the moment. We have our heads down and we're trying to build our plan for amongst these things and then amongst projects like TAP grant and tree grant and SMART grant for the street lights. We're busy. Right now, we're gearing up, trying to make our plan, so come summertime, we can go back out on the streets and fill potholes. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I've got everybody driving around, finding all the ponding that's going on, all the potholes that have popped up from our patches. Oh, they're everywhere. The roads are, wow, crazy. And, you know, we did the assessment, and now I've got them taking the assessment and doing our own assessment off of that assessment of what the roads look like now, because that was pre-winter, and plows have, not to say done damage, but snow did the damage. Right. So these 3 days is a good day since it's starting to warm up and we're finding ponding, which we can't do anything about that necessarily. It's a storm sewer runoff conversation, but we can find all the low points of the roads. We can, you know, really see the worst of the worst. You see it now, not when it's dry out. So I have them on the streets right now, building lists off of the lists we already paid to have, and, you know, just being thorough, trying to be a little more thorough. Because regardless of what happens with paving, you know, we'll see how far we can go, but roads aren't getting better, that's for sure.
All right, we'll go around this way this time, just change it up a little. Sam, go
So
ahead.
Nick, the only question that I have is in relation to not only the city taking care of the streets, but we also have the water authority.
Yeah.
I noticed that there's been quite a bit of heaves in the roads driving around. I want to make sure that we're on top of them, that they're reporting to the engineering department, making sure that they're putting in the request and fixing the potholes and they're held up to the standards as
Yeah, they put in
as
their,
they are.
they put in their requests. They don't pay for permits, that's a.
Not the water
sanctioned
authority,
thing.
that was just the private.
The water
ones. I mean,
authority,
I
but
drifted
National
that.
Grid, sure, we can go
No,
down the
I-
road of all of them, yeah. They do pull their permits, we watch their permits, we inspect their cuts. They usually will repair the cut well, call it like 90% of the way, and then they come back weeks later, maybe. So that's why we're inspecting them ahead of time, and then, we're poking them, come on, come fix this, you know. National Grid's the same way. They call in 811, which is one of the contracted services in here, contractual 811, and we pay for it. But any resident who calls it, we pay for it if it's in the city, right? So that's a database that we log on to, and every day you know who's cutting your street, where they're cutting, what, who, company, all of it, all inclusive.
Yeah, that's all.
And, you know, trying to catch them from where they are actually filling it to make sure they're properly filling it, that's a, you know, little bit of a dice game, because they cut it, they dig it, you go around and look at other places, you hope they don't backfill it and close it in with binder before you get back, right? So,
Well, that was one of the biggest things that we had prior to that legislation being put in, was that nobody was checking what
Yeah.
was being done, there was no permits being pulled.
Yeah.
I mean, we gained a little bit of a penny out of the budget for that, you know, with the cuts, and that was based on an assessment that we did of how much the first cuts cost and things like that. So that was just something that I was just checking to make sure that we're on top of.
yeah, we're on top of it. The juniors are usually doing it. One of my guys, Scott, when he came on, we showed him the way so he can do the system. Now he's uploading it into the IPS program, and that way any one of the field people can see it, be it, do it.
Mike Mustard's still.
He's still there,
on-
yeah, he's
on their-
leading the-
when they went in,
leading the
they
charge with
had to get all
contracts.
the papers that were like from 1953, like it's a much better system having it online instead of having to dig through all those rolls of where all that stuff was, so.
Tell me about
That's a more.
it.
Yeah, most of that, thank you.
Mark?
Evening, I got a couple questions. You know, I was pulling a lot of these off my emails and stuff, you know, 2024 mill and fill,
Yep.
2020 mill, 2020.
Okay.
And it seems like the mix that whoever's using, it doesn't last long. We're spending all these millions and millions of dollars on roads, and they last a year or two. Now, this paving plan that we had, or was passed by the council a few years back, that every road will be paved and it'll be okay in 15 years. But it seems like we're going back over the same roads again, over and over and over again. The same, like the Parkway. I know it's gotta be redone every year for the Boilermaker. But as I'm driving around, and, you know, some of these roads look like the Thousand Islands, all these holes and everything else. But it seems like this mill and fill doesn't last. Now, I asked this question years ago, and I didn't vote for that paving plan. But what I'm getting at, the mix is not working up here in the north. And I asked a question. I mean, Alaska, you look at those roads, and you know, you watch Alaska and the trucking and everything else, those roads last forever. But for some reason, we have to use the same mixture here, and it just lasts a year or two. And I understand the winters and this and that and the salt and everything else, but it seems like we're just throwing money away.
They did not use, according to the specs, the paving, when the law was drafted, and what's upstairs in the books, they had not used that. And that's what we said down in Atlantic testing, and they went to cheaper material and things like that to why those roads are not lasting the way they are.
I know,
And that
so-
was part of that was through contracted services, that we had asked them plenty of times to change that, because that was a specific component to making sure the roads last. How many times they were rolled, how many, you know, whether or not the companies were being held to the standard that they were. And if you look at that law, it is very specific on what type of material you could use, and they did not use that.
No, it's Marshall mix is what we used to use.
Yes, so that's what I'm trying to get at. Are we throwing money, you know, just to redo it again, and the same paving companies are just, you know, it's just like a barber shop. You know, you gotta get a haircut every 2 weeks. Now, you know, every year and a half, 2 years, you gotta do the same road over again.
Yeah.
And like, South Park, I'm not sure when that was done last. When was that done last? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
Right there, South Park, you know, right down by Hills Drive and everything, and, you know, it wasn't done that much longer. It was done recently,
Okay.
and it's just destroyed. And
Well,
no, it's nothing against the engineering
No, I-
department.
I mean, there's regulations, there's things the state is doing that is making the mixes change, right? Sometimes it's a little bit out of our control, or I've heard it. This is as I've heard it, right? I'm 10 months in, right? So,
Yo, I get
as
it.
I've heard it. So the state does have regulations sometimes that they're changing the mix way. They say this is how you have to do it now. Barrett might be forced to mix different chemicals in a certain way. So it's not always like, we may not be able to stick to this Marshall mix because of the reasons that the state is passing regulation.
So that's something
Still-
that could be from the assembly there, or whatever, I mean, the higher levels?
Somewhere top down, yeah.
Because it's just not working. I think we're just throwing money,
So
just
the
throwing the
reasons-
money away.
I don't disagree entirely. Again, I'm just trying to evolve where I came into and just make it in a better way, right? Part of what you're saying I agree with, and that's why we're exploring this micro paving conversation.
Yeah, like I did my driveway with blacktop.
That's holding up great.
It's holding up great, and I drive up that thing every day.
And, you know, there's a lot of abuse. Sometimes the road decays from underneath, keep that in mind, right? A water line breaks, it erodes,
And that's where the water board comes in.
right? Then you end up with a sinkhole. That sinkhole gets filled, but they don't fill underneath the pipe. They only fill up and around it.
And who's checking that?
Well, that's the inspection. That's the engineers.
Okay.
Now, but catching them in the act of when they're actually doing their backfill, because backfill and binder happen in that fast, right? This truck's in, drop it, they tamp it, they binder it.
So you make that statement that, you know, they might not do what they're supposed to be doing. You might not catch it.
We're supposed to catch it.
And you might not catch it.
You may not. And when
All
it
right.
falls out.
So
we
they
have
gotta be,
3
is
years.
the city reimbursed on that?
I believe there's a 3-year rule that we can call them back to fix it.
Yeah, that's part of the contract, and I just,
So-
want to say one thing on that, if you don't, one thing.
Go ahead there, shipwreck.
That's why there probably should be 2 contracts for 2 separate companies to see who holds,
Well,
what paving company holds to the better standard, that's what I.
no, I mean, this is water authority we're
No,
talking
yeah,
about
no,
directly, not, but that's why I wanna do 2 different paving ideas, right? I like the micro pave. It's holding better, it's holding together better
Mm-hmm.
on the surface. Can't stop anything that happens underneath. 2 different things, just wanna be clear about that, right? 2 different parts of the conversation.
Well, just let me step in on this then. What Mark is saying and what they're saying is that, can we force the company that's actually doing the streets to go with the micropave? Or we gotta do
It's a
with?
different company, so Barrett will do our typical mill and fill.
Right.
They'll use hot mix.
We can't tell them we want,
They won't run this micro pave. It's not their system, it's not their way.
and we
They are a
can't,
big plant that uses our millings, cuts it back down, adds new oil resources in, makes a hot mix, throws it in a truck, and here it's coming to you. That's Barrett's way of construction. That company. A different company, Coat, who we're currently talking with, they have their own plant, and it's a cold mix. And it comes in cold. And they have their own process to how they lay it, and they lay it thinner as well, right? So that's also a factor, because if we run 4-inch cut on a street, we take 4 inches away, we bring everything back, we build it back up so we have an inch and a half left of top coat. Usually that's, the binder's a hot mix and the top coat's a hot mix, and that's the makeup for the 4 inches. That's a certain construction method. The micro paving will only take off a 2-inch. It'll only take the top layer off. So if the road is not great, and you really need to fix, like we did on the service place extension over here behind Papandreas, right? We had to reconstruct that road. That's not a top micro paving layer. That's a full-on rebuild, dirt, stone, concrete, binder, hot mix. And you have to use the hot mix in that way, because that's how you're reconstructing the road. Unless we do dirt, I misspoke, not have to. We could do it a micro pave way, but you'd have dirt, concrete, cap it, to build it up to your 1.5 inches, and then put a micro pave over the top of it. So the micro pave is a fix. it's more of a resurfacing. If you imagine, we take all of our rated 3 roads, or rated good 4 road, right, which are on the bad side, 5 being the worst. Those would be candidates for micropaving, because we're not trying to reconstruct the whole road. We want to just take the top surface, put a fresh layer down that'll give us another 5-6 years.
You don't have to raise the sewers, things like that.
Exactly. It's not
So,
much work.
before I was really interrupted by 2 people.
I really
So anyways, I have a couple, just 2 more
I
questions.
apologize.
So anyways, when I was on contract to supply and these organizations that bid, you know, and they underbid, whatever they did, and then there's like 14 change orders, 15 change orders, and I was explained to me, because I'm not an engineer, and this is before your time, well, we don't know what's underneath the road. And the thing is, we all know what's underneath the road, because we all know, I mean, we've been paving these roads for years.
Sure.
So when they give me that statement, oh, we don't know what's gonna be under the road, I mean, there might be no piping or nothing like that. And so it seems like we're just, like I said, it's like going to the barber shop every 2 weeks to get a haircut. We're going back to the same group every 2 or 3 years to do the same thing over and over again. And that's number one. And with the paving, you know, like I said, you're trying to tell me now, it's gotta go to the state level to, you know, fix our mix and everything else to, you know, to deal with the, maybe farther north, that deal with more ice and snow than we do, because we're the Mohawk Valley. But the next question, how much paving did we do? Did we overpave the last couple years? In other words, we get CHIPS funding of 2,500 or 2.5 million. We get 2.5 million that we have to bond for every year because of the, you know, the ordinance that we did for 5 million a year in paving. Did we overpave funding-wise the last 2-3 years?
So, as I understand it, this is only being told to me as a past thing already. We had a contract that we had open in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the $5 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then we, I guess, extended that contract to another year using the same unit pricing, as also I'm understanding it. And there is some overage of 2.5 million past that somewhere.
Yes. So we spent,
But it wasn't all on streets, as I know it. It was like, maybe some sidewalks got done. And
well, not with paving.
Some streets.
No, they use
They.
Maybe Valley View, but that was ARPA
Repairs.
funding, right?
No, Valley View was a separate project, as I know that, to be
Mhm.
separate, since I've been here. Those
So we-
parking lot numbers are intact for Valley View.
So we spent more money than we're supposed to by the city that was approved by the Common Council.
Yeah, I know there's some number like 2.5 million that's lost, or not sure where it came from. I haven't been in those conversations, to be honest with you. I know it's my department, but that's water under my bridge, and I'm focusing on now forward, right? So,
Mhm.
but I hear it in the halls, and I hear, you know, things being said or conversations about it. So it's my understanding, yes, we overspent. We had a contract that we extended,
Mm-hmm.
so it looked like we killed that contract, but really it was 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this overage that went into, I think what it went into was a lot of overage of the council money, actually. I
So-
don't believe that, but I don't know it for facts, so just to be clear about that.
I know it's an ordinance that we can't change it, but if I took $1 million off paving this year instead of borrowing it because we spent over on it,
Yeah.
would that be an issue?
I mean, I don't have enough money to do what I gotta do now, so.
Well, I understand that because we're throwing money
But
away
under
every
your-
2.
Right, under your theories of this, sure.
I mean, because we're just throwing money away on these roads because of the mix.
It does appear that way, it could be that way,
Man,
and $1 million is a lot of money, that's like 10 roads, so.
10 roads on one side, right?
Well,
But you gotta remember, it's 2 sides.
so each road is about per cost, 140,000-ish to 180,000.
Well, my understanding on it, when I was in contract supply, you have a mile road. It's actually 2 miles, because you got one side.
Because that's center line miles. is
That's
what
right.
People speak, but when we're doing our cost breakouts,
Mhm.
my 180,000 or 140, they range. Depends on how many potholes or how many manholes are in there, because each adjustment costs money. If it's 4 corners, each corner's $10,000. So there are variables, but we're in the 140. We're probably 140 to 200,000.
So it wouldn't be an issue if we just froze $1 million or something like that for 1 year and then bring it back
I
to
would
be
just
normal,
delete
because,
roads. Yeah.
people are worried about tax increases and everything
Sure.
else. And, it's,
I believe that repairs will go farther than the mill and fill.
Yes.
At this point. That's kind of, this year, my numbers have not come out public yet. My roads, although I have them compiled, we haven't made our mind up, so I'm not dispersing it to anybody, because I don't want to get hung out to dry. You said this, right? But
no, I
I'm
get
just
it.
telling you.
I get
but
it.
I've got $1 million this year allocated to just repair work.
Potholes, right?
Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Potholes, random adjustments, through this last year, I found that, Stephanie would be doing a sewer somewhere, Austin would be doing a repair somewhere. Now, because we had to adjust this, we dug the pavement up, and it's in horrible shape, right? The call will come to me, can we repair this over here? I just fixed it, but we just repaired the sewer line, but now we gotta do the manhole. Yeah, of course we do, right? So I'll send Austin over there to mobilize and fix that portion as a repair.
And when we overspent that money, 2.5, 3 million, whatever you just said, where did that come out of? What budget?
I thought they bonded for that.
They bonded for it?
Bonded.
I mean, on top of the 5 million? On top of the 5 million?
5 million.
No, we,
Well, on top of the 2.5 million.
yeah, they bonded for more, or they take it out of the general fund?
No, the former budget director insisted that 2 million was gonna come out of the general fund.
Okay, so we overspent by 2 million 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, so that's where we're in a situation now. So if I took $1 million away, if the council agrees, take $1 million away this year because we overspent,
Delete streets.
we have to delete streets, but just like you said, you can do more by fixing them
Sure.
instead of redoing a whole street that only lasts for 2 years.
We're gonna go around the order. Okay?
But that's also
Yep.
capital projects. I mean, that's not in general fund, that's capital projects, so.
Well, either way, we
I
still
mean,
spent the money.
I understand what you're saying, I just,
We didn't do a capital project this year, though.
yeah. not
So
yet, just
the
bonding,
federal
the
money,
paving.
or the grant money.
You get the CHIPS money,
CHIPS
2.5.
money with the pothole money and the touring money, and it comes to 3.6. Now, Trump is saying that New York's on their own, and he's not giving them any federal money, and he said the word CHIPS a bunch of times, so I'm watching it closely.
We're the highest
are
tax state in the US
cautious.
besides California.
Listen, I'm just saying what
I
I
know.
know, right? And so I'm watching that. We have talked to our rep for the state. She said, you should be safe, count on what you've been getting, but, until I see it, proof is,
So you would be okay if I took $1 million away just from the bond?
I mean,
I know you can get more done with repairs, like you said, the repair fund.
if you were to take the money away, I will delete streets. That'll be more phone calls I'll have to field, more people yelling at me, and when somebody comes to me
What are you getting?
needing a fix,
You fix it, you fix the
I'm
potholes and
not gonna
everything
be
else.
able to if I don't have the money, right? I will run out. It will happen. I mean,
Well,
and this is all of what we say, it looks great, it's all numbers, and we can crunch the numbers all we want, but if you touch a street in North Utica and it falls out, you better triple your price.
Well,
because
I just wanted it for the
now
record
fully
that the last administration overspent by 2 million, and now we're paying the price now.
Sure.
Okay.
As I understand it.
That's what I'm getting at as well. The last administration overspent by 2 million, and now this administration's gotta play the game and try to fix it.
All right, try to come up.
Exactly.
Fill-
All right, and that's for the record, and you're on the record, and that's it. Okay, that's all I have.
Joe? Yes. So, Nick, first of all, thank you for always taking my calls and done a great job since you've been there. I know I'm painting the butt sometimes, but thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
So, getting back to Mark's question, this past year,
Yep.
did we overspend on paving?
No, we're 300,000 to the plus as of right now.
So we didn't spend 300?
Over the 5 million?
I have spent 6.3 to date, but that is of all money allocated, 3.6,
Right.
2.5, then we had CDBG money that
Right.
also comes into the fold, which gave us a working total of 6.3.
And we have, and this year's budget, so we say we have to spend 5 million on the paving.
Of
But
minimum.
actually, you get close to 700, you almost get 7 something, right?
750 from CDBG?
No, over the 5, total money into the paving
Oh,
is.
6.1 to 6.3.
You get over $1 million above the 5.
More than the 5, correct.
Okay, so I just would like to talk about that too. And as far as the people who are on the record, if we were to do that, if you took the average money that you spent over the last 3 years, we overspent the referendum, right? Would you say that?
As the, seems to have come out, yeah.
Right, okay. So I'm gonna look here on line 411, contractual services. Okay, it says we were gonna use 225.
No, this is 811, this is different.
No, 411.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Sub number 411, contractual.
Oh, yeah,
811,
okay.
which is the dig
I'm only
safe.
asking, we got a month to go and we're $100,000.
This is dig safe.
It's what that?
So anytime somebody's gonna dig in the city,
Right,
they call 811,
okay.
that's this money, we pay for it.
But, okay, it's 225 there, but we only spent 113 and we got a
Yeah.
month to go.
Yeah, so this is not, I'm glad you asked that, actually. So Elmer pulled these numbers year to date when we were starting to put our budgets together, right?
Right.
So what you see here is not real today, and it's not even what you'll see in Munis today. So a small example, because,
Well, that's the frustrating part of doing all this stuff.
and my year's not
And
over.
going through this budget, no, you got 4 weeks. Tomorrow's March 1st, or Saturday's March 1st, right? So you got the month of March.
Right.
So.
But
this-
I have money sitting on
Well, you
Elmer's
can go to
desk.
your next line.
I
I
have
mean,
money
go to
sitting
the
in
next
purchasing
line.
that are things I know I'm already spending.
Right.
Diana hasn't even seen them yet.
Okay, but you go, I mean, the same thing happens, you go to the next line, you budgeted for 110, you spent 174, so it equals out.
Where are we at?
The electric,
Electric, yeah, well. so-
you're already over 60,000 there. you
Yeah,
know what
and
I'm
we're gonna
saying?
be over again. So when Mahoney left in October, I came in April, much later.
Right.
So, when it was computer time, I asked if I could,
Nick,
get his
nobody's
email or
pointing-
whatever, right?
nobody's
No, that's
picking on
fine.
you. I'm
not
just
being
asking
picked
a
on.
question that's
We're okay,
pointing
I'm
out
just,
to
I'm
me,
explaining
you know what I mean?
facts. I'm just explaining facts.
Yeah.
So, no was my answer. Okay, fine. What, 2 months ago? Diana and I get an email from NIPA saying you haven't paid your bill since October or November.
It was like a year and a half.
A year and a half. They said we need 190,000, help me out, the number was. Whatever, it was 160,
It's like-
190.
Yeah, I was
it
gonna
was
say it was something good,
It's a
160.
big number, right?
Yeah.
And we need that right now because you haven't paid your bill in a year. Said, and it was funny because when I was doing my budget, it was like days before, I said, how come I haven't spent any, right here, oh, I just opened to it. 110,000. Zero money year to date. And then we found this out. It was the LED bill for all the LED lights in the city that we took loans out from NIPA.
Yeah, it's a loan.
And it was a loan, we had to pay it back. I didn't know that it was an active thing. They had Mahoney's contact directly.
Well, dereliction of duty, right?
So, then finally they
Dereliction
catch
of
up.
whose duty?
No.
You
Who's-
didn't take care of it, right?
Who did?
Well, you had a bill.
We had to pay it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had to pay it.
No one
right?
knew
So,
about it.
Nobody knew about it.
For some reason, they got my email, and that's when the snowballed.
So
Right.
dereliction of duty of the person in charge.
Right, from the prior,
Yes.
right, so,
Okay, there we go.
from Mahoney, not prior administration, I'm not going, I'm not saying these words, no friggin' way.
See, nobody wants to hear that.
I'm not trying to have that fight, that's,
I don't
you
know.
know, I'm a neutral guy here.
Right.
These are just the facts that were put in
Right.
front of me. So, with that being all known, Joe, to answer your question, since that's known, we have to put another $120,000 in because we have 2 more years to pay on this thing.
Right.
So, like, yeah, year-to-date was 0 until we had to pay the bill a year late.
And unfortunately, part of it was from the prior year, which we could have paid it if we had known,
Right.
because there was money
Right.
in
But
that
it was-
account.
Playing it on the last
So that really
administration,
threw it
the
over.
price on ours now, right?
And I don't even know, to be truthful, if they knew about it, because there's a lot of things in my department that nobody knows about. It comes to me, I handle it, I work with Diana, I sign the paper, we pay the bill. Like, there's things that move so fast, don't even need to talk about it, it's just done, right? And could have been one of those things. My email is on a lot of stuff that, it's just me,
I get it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true.
So,
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Dennis?
Yeah, well, Mark was talking about with the roads and the material you're using.
yeah.
I know on West Street, 1100 block, there's so many potholes and it's torn up so bad. And I know we've been waiting for the project that's supposed to be happening with the Impact Center. So I don't know if that's one of the reasons before you came that they were not doing anything with road. But it's to the point now where you need to take a look at it and maybe consider it,
Sure.
for the paving list.
I mean, I know that
It's pretty bad.
we drove all the streets in the city, so
Right.
it's in there. It's in that estimate.
Yeah, it's even worse since the plows. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of roads in a lot of districts that are a lot worse than they were before
Sure.
because of the plowing. But it's
Well, this is
it's getting
why-
to the point now where you're gonna start getting lawsuits from people because the roads are so bad. Well, that one road is so bad.
No, they exist. Listen, again, I can only do what I can do.
Oh, I know.
You know, we take $1 million from me,
Hmm.
doing that many less roads.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm sorry, I wish I could do more. But your road may not get touched.
Hey,
Right.
you want to laugh? You were-
right, and that's gonna be a lot of roads.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
You want to laugh? You were just talking about Service Place and back in Patrick Drive,
Yeah,
and when we had to tear the whole road apart.
yeah.
So Councilman Williamson just gave me the sheet from 2020. We paid that Coventry to Northern, and we paid Herkimer Road to Service Place in 2020.
Herkimer to Service Place, that would have been
Right where we
on the
started.
backside, not that extension piece.
Well, we called, yeah.
You know what? Since this has been brought up, I'll do my due diligence tomorrow. We'll go back to AutoCAD. I'll pull, because every year we log every street that we've done, all the way through. So I'll pull this. I'll do a comparison. 2020, you said?
Yeah.
I'll do a comparison. Since you're bringing it up, I'll look into it.
Oh, yeah, I just thought it
Venice, you all done? Venice, you all done?
yeah, I'm done.
Frank?
Thank you.
I think you're gonna see when the snow's gone and winter's over,
Yeah.
Mohawk Street, Rutger Street, they're like,
Oh, yeah.
They're-
East Utica's in untouched shape.
they're like undrivable now. I mean, even the school bus won't go through is going around some of these potholes.
Yeah.
And you can't even see half of them because they're still not,
No, I
Still
agree.
covered.
They're still covered.
still covered half of them.
That's why,
And-
you know,
and
the
they're-
board,
it
do
should
my
be 10
drive
times worse.
today, yesterday.
Yeah.
That's why I got my team out there.
Mohawk Street's brutal, and Rutger Street's brutal right now. Those are busy streets.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually gotta stop and wait to go around. 2 places on Mohawk and 1 on Rutger.
You know,
And there's nothing you can do about it now.
No,
Like,
and
somebody-
Dave and I were just talking about this morning in my office, and, I mean, although not Dave's purview at the moment, right, anymore, but was still a man with the knowledge, and we can't do anything.
No.
We can't.
Well, I had a call.
The water in it,
Yeah, I had
that water
3
will
calls,
freeze,
actually.
that patch will pop right out. You wanna talk about wasting money?
But there's definitely gonna be some people
You know.
calling with
busted
damages to
tires.
their cars.
Yeah, no doubt.
With damages to their
I had
cars.
4 today, 4, 5, 6 today. Stephanie gave me 14 places she found.
There's 3
There's,
on
it's
Main
everywhere,
Mohawk Street and
widespread.
2 on Rutgers Street that's very busy. And they're like, you can't drive through them. You drive through them, you're gonna get a flat tire.
No, and it's a thing, but how do you fix something that you know you're gonna just throw the money away, right? The hole has to be dry. You have to clean it out of any loose debris.
Yeah, I know, I
Tank
understand
coat
that.
it.
yeah. I told them that
These
was.
processes don't
Roll
happen
it.
when it's raining.
That's how we keep these companies employed.
But yeah, yes, I mean,
Did you
if
see
that's the
Mohawk
case,
Street?
you know, if you say, like in construction,
And it's in a
we would
patch that was
say
repaired last
You
year.
gotta account for waste of
Yeah,
material,
that's
right?
right.
The whole
A
strip.
2x4
That's
that's
right.
8 foot long, you're not using every piece of it, you're cutting some and that's waste. There's gotta be a level of waste that we should expect as a city in this pothole fixing thing. That's a construction way across the board, right? Industry standard. We run 30% in construction for material waste. I don't know what it would be here, but just as a have a conversation, we should expect there's gonna be some waste.
Yeah.
Some potholes that get filled.
If you have less than 20 calls on Mohawk Street by the end of March, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
With somebody
I would too.
blowing their tires out. I know it's not your fault now, but
Something we're gonna have to deal with.
Yeah, for sure, we'll have to deal with it. And we will, but.
All set, Frank?
I'm all set, yeah,
All
Joe.
right, Joe?
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
I want to go back to Councilmember Beatrice's questions about the contractual 811.
Yep.
The current contract in place, is there a time frame on that? How does that work?
So, it's not like a renewable contract, well, it is renewable. I do renew the contract every year. I did sign for it this year, but it's not, I can't shop it out.
So it's a yearly contract,
It's a
year to
yearly
year?
contract, but our hands are tied. I guess we never did this before. And then years passed, somebody blew the whistle, they were upset that they were paying and we weren't or something. I don't know the whole story, but after that point, here comes contractual 811.
Okay.
Right?
Is it, are we charged per
Per,
call or per?
yeah, per call.
Okay.
You have 72 hours to respond to the call, unless it's an emergency,
Which,
which is like
Is immediate.
now time. So, and that, Udig is the company, like you see Premier is, cars that have Premier on the side of them. So, it says Udig actually.
Udig, Premier, I don't know. the
Another
other
one,
ones.
but those guys that you see on the side of the road, just sitting there with their lights on, they're using our GIS information that we give to them to map out where the gas lines are, where the national grid or electric lines are, just so when you dig, you don't explode, right?
What's the current charge per call? Do we have a dollar
So-
figure on that? How does that work?
Maybe not per call, but I sign just about every third month. They run, it fluctuates because it depends on how many people call.
Mhm.
But I've seen $30,000 months. I think this last bill I just signed was 17 something, which was 1 month. So they fluctuate. Obviously, that makes sense. It's snowing. There's less digging.
Do we foresee rates that 811 charges increasing?
I can, increase.
The rates that they charge us per call?
I would imagine they probably have increased year over year. I just
So
haven't-
does the contract with this run with our fiscal year? Is it on a different, is it on a calendar year?
No,
Is it
it's
on, what's
gotta
it?
be- It's gotta be a calendar year. I signed it already and we're in the same fiscal year to renew it for this year. But I think they run on their own, not, it might not be like January to January, or December 31st to January.
Okay.
It might be whatever the year was that we originally signed up with them for that month, and you run a 1 year consecutive from there.
Okay. And then earlier, I just want to, just for my understanding, the 140 to 180,000 per road, is that per road per mile, or is that a different length of?
No, it's like,
No, a road if it's 500 feet versus a road that's a mile. I mean, what's the, what's the?
Sure, well, Auger, so yeah, Auger was 110 or something, right? But that's mostly all concrete, it's not blacktop. So you can't really.
Okay, so it's not determined by
It's
length?
not, it's
of-
not. And it also matters with how many manholes are in there. So every manhole also has to be adjusted, which increases your cost.
Okay. And then, one last question. How's the city coming along with talks with Susquehanna regarding along the railroad? I know we spoke about
They
the
just
railroad
met
across
with,
Genesee.
Richard was in my office yesterday, talking with Austin. He dropped off some pictures to the mayor for, benches that are made out of like train wheels and then nice oak for seating. As far as money, Susquehanna goes, the ball is in their court on that portion of it. When we met with them, they said, you know, off the cuff, probably more off the record, just jokingly, but yeah, we're on for about 300,000. That's what they said. That they would-
Does Susquehanna, like their employees go in and physically fix along, because I'm thinking, the example with Genesee Street near the Stewarts in South Utica, I think this morning I was driving by and I see the loose
Yeah.
asphalt in there, so I mean,
they
that's
know
been,
that's a
yeah.
big problem, been a problem. They bought the shells from a new company, a new way,
Mhm.
and they got sold a bad bill of goods for their words.
Do we foresee a more permanent fix there once the weather breaks here?
They're
or what?
already, yeah, they're
Okay.
already in motion. They ordered the original stuff that should have been there. They're gonna put it together. You know, another conversation about the plows, about throwing money away. We have had them patch it. I mean, it's not our money, right?
Yeah.
But we've had them patch it. Well, 4 times now.
Yeah, it's been
And
quite a few.
Then the plows come by, our plows come by.
Yeah.
Yank it right out.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Not to be out of order, just so you know, we have an issue with them from there to Shenatries with their maintenance of the trains.
Yep.
And so if they're in your office, send them to mine.
Yeah, well, that was Richard. He was not Susquehanna, but I will.
Okay.
Well, that's another,
They come back around.
that's another point regarding maintenance. You bring up a good point on Seward, I'm thinking, behind the barbecue restaurant.
Look, they've been helpful when we've
Right
been
there,
able to get
yeah.
to the right person, but you get lost in the bureaucracy sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, especially when it's an outside agency or company, I
Right.
feel. Okay, all right, no, I appreciate it, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Bob, you up?
Yep. Thank you, Nick, for coming. I got a couple questions. Years ago, I watched a program on TV, and they had a machine that actually did everything. It tore it down, broke it up, reheated it, and relayed it.
And you
What-
need
what-
about 90 feet, 100 feet of space around it, just to get that to move through the streets.
Is it-
Our streets are too small for
Oh,
that. right?
okay, well,
Yeah.
I didn't know, I didn't
We
know.
would be across the intersection into the next part of the block when they're just putting down the top coat.
Because I thought that was
It's
really.
highways.
Because I saw them do these streets, and I was so impressed that they could do it themselves, and have we ever looked into doing our own paving? Because I know paving is such a big deal. You know, hire our own contractors and our own trucks, and not making them seasonal workers. You know, I don't know what the liability be, but, you know, I know that the markup on materials, we maybe, you know, I don't know. I mean,
To say something,
I
say it.
I know I'm the head of the engineering department, but this conversation directly,
The guru
I
over
have
there.
to defer this to Dave.
Years ago, we
Because Ken and I have
had,
this
years ago, we had
conversation.
Frank Femia, who helped us out with road patches. He was a consultant on our paving program and all that. And Frank thought it would be a great idea if we could have an in-house crew do small repairs, so forth and so on. I said, I think that's gonna be a problem. But I'm open to it, let's look into it. After a day of looking at what I have to work with and equipment and contractual issues with unions, and Frank wanted to bring some of his own people in to mix with the DPW guys. The next day he came in and said, let's just forget the whole program. He goes, it's not gonna work.
It might be a little messy. However, I like where you're going with some of that conversation, because they have this other thing called the pothole killer, which may help with some of the repairs if I can get them in here, right? It's like a
Right.
very proprietary system. There's only like 3 people in the whole country that do it. I've watched YouTube videos on it.
We've had them before here.
We've had them, there was a couple rounds, one was great, one was not so great, right?
Yep.
Learning our way as to why it wasn't great, and it depends on your crew that's running it, but that is to go to the point of what I said about trying to do more repairs or things of that nature, you know? If I could put some money into that, we can't take work away from our unions and our people, but if you count how many potholes are out there, we can use some help. So it is something that I'm thinking about, which was why my monies were, some of these were much higher than what you see.
Because I did like what Councilman Williamson said, you know, if we could cut the bond down to $1 million and see what you would do. And the concern would be, would that increase? Obviously, it would increase the amount of repairs.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you save 1.5, but it might cost you 0.5 to make up for the difference because you got to put all this time into repairs. And I think it's a great idea of cutting back on the bond for 1 year to help the budget, but.
yeah, know that, there's things that go into it too, like every time we do a street, mill and fill wise, we also do the curbs. We put all the ADA ramping in, and this is something that we have to conform to. This is federal regulations, right? So, and at 10,000 clip for each one of them, right? If you have 4, that's 40 grand alone. So it's not just like, you know, saving on the road blacktop portion of it. There's other things that we're doing inside of the paving to help further the city's compliance. You know, I'll do less with less. That's the answer. That's the answer you're looking for. I'll do less with less, but I just want you to know that there are a lot of parameters that go into it. There's things that we do help the city. Again, you don't realize it. Most people don't realize why we're doing the corners too, and that's just stay compliant. The state was not doing it. They did it for a little while where they cut every road back before the corner, so they didn't have to touch the corners. And then the government got on them, and now they're doing it, right? So it's a thing. But to answer the overall question here, I'll do less with less. Tomorrow is another day, and I'm gonna fix the roads. It's just how many roads and what I can actually do with the money. So.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, and so Thorn Street must have been a nightmare because I've never been on a short street with that many sewers.
Right.
I just can't believe that there's got to be 10 sewers on that street. It just seems like and it's not a long street. It goes from York Street to Lenox Ave, and that's it. And there's got to be 10 sewers, and you probably did 6 or 8 corners, and you know it came out absolutely beautiful, but that's not a $140,000 job.
Right, that one may not, that may have been 260.
You're sure? But one more question. Was that a misprint when you requested 727 for your salary as compared to last year at 277?
No, I wanted to bring all the engineers into the engineering department.
Not sewers, no.
Sewers is separate. Stephanie's under sewers. Austin and the 3 juniors are all underpaid. So their salaries are 100% charged back, which we reclassify it. We charge it back through the federal money, the CHIPS money. Actually, yeah, it goes under the CHIPS money. So
Go back to paving
they don't exist in the engineering department. Now, the one thing that I've been struggling with this season is I'm not accepting change orders this year. Right? If a road falls out, that's a thing, and that's a thing, right? And I'll have to take a change order for a fallout.
I'm not familiar with
It's like when the road collapses after we've dug it up and it'll collapse. then we have to reconstruct.
Oh,
It's a change order. They call it a change
That's a
order?
change order.
now I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, but that's a good example of a change order.
But that's a
The
good
other
example.
change orders, there's a lot of bad.
All right, so we added streets last year because everybody was losing their mind. Right?
I fight about it.
Everybody's losing their mind. Cornhill didn't get any streets, blah, 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 blah. Fine. I will get you the streets you wanted. I have a little extra money. Change order.
Okay.
Now,
It's another good example of a change order. There's a lot of bad examples of change orders.
trying to not use up everybody.
Any more questions, Bob?
No, no, thank
All
you
right,
very.
Katie, you're up.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you very
gonna
much, Nick.
Try to rapid fire
Thank you.
these because we have 3 more departments still to go. On page 82 with infrastructure for repairs,
Yep.
I noticed in the past it's been $15,000. This year the request is $362,500. What is that for?
So, our vaults on Genesee Street that National Grid pays us rent for are deteriorating. So I had Brad and Matt, no, infrastructure, well, yeah, I put it under that too. That's Sanad, the carpenter mostly, but infrastructure is internal, right? So not to get off the case, so our vaults are collapsing.
Okay.
They're in rough shape. And to rebuild them, which could be a capital thing, right, I guess, but if we're not doing capital, we have 2 options. Let them collapse, and then the sidewalks fall out in the roads, or fix them. Much like what we did up here, in front of the ARC. Or ARC now, whatever, right here on Genesee Street. We fixed that.
Right. Okay, so that's for the
Right.
vaults.
Now, this whole area down from Riskin Boulevard up is in rough shape, so this is the money to fix that. Plus we have, like, North Utica has a couple of lights out over like Riverside Drive. We've got lights out over by ConMed, lights out at the business park. These wires are underground, so it's not an easy splice the line and move it on. We have to dig it out. I mean, there's a lot of work just to get the lights back on.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
that's- yep.
And then, I know everybody's on the fence of will we, won't we sell the parking garage, but didn't the hospital do repairs to the parking garage?
Yeah, and in the contract, it is said that any work they've done is considered a gift to the city. And
What, how much have they done?
I mean, not a lot. Not a lot. They did our fans, they did our lights. They didn't do any of the structure itself, which is part of this infrastructure, you know, this money.
Is not a lot, like
Wild thing.
100,000 or?
Somewhere around like 300 is what they.
And then when we talk, so with the chips, I know we got, everybody's talking about let's bond less next year, but this year we got an extra 1.1 million in chips. And I know this wasn't probably a you decision with that, but I don't know why we just didn't bond less then to hit our 5 million
I mean, the
already
bond
this year.
happened Before we had the CHIPS award.
The chips award came April 1st though, and then paving started.
No.
It didn't?
CHIPS didn't come till later.
We got the announcement
The
when,
award
when
letter,
AIM did.
And then we started paying in like August, because the CHIPS came late.
Well, it comes late, but we were notified when the state budget went through for the AIM money.
That's the thing,
But either way, that's,
Either way,
hopefully for next year then, if we're still gonna get the same
Uh,
amount. Well, if we get any, but we'll look with that.
that's not,
Get any.
that's not, that's not an email question.
Yeah, it's the first year we've ever
It's
ran
a
into this. so.
Real question, but we started paving a little later in the season because we were waiting for CHIPS money to come
So,
through.
yep.
So,
Thank you. That's all Jack, I'm all set. Thank you, Nick.
sorry for taking.
Thank you for that marathon session there, Nick. We
Sorry.
appreciate
Yes,
it.
thanks,
I'm
Nick.
sorry, everybody. I'll stay for you. Are you
No,
thirsty?
it's all right.
I'm sorry.
Go
All
get
right.
me some popcorn, though.
That was good.
Yeah, you get something to eat or something, you know? Anyway, no, thank you very much, bottom of my heart. Guy, you're up?
I mean, I don't know, ours is boring compared to.
I know. Well,
There's really not much here.
Give me a page number,
Sewers?
please.
Oh, I'm sorry, 21?
Sewers was exciting.
Micro paving.
You know? Bye, Dave. Nothing really major here. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the mayor cut my contracted services line. I will tell you right now, I have a bill sitting on my desk for Munis for over about $142,000, which is going to eat up the majority of that. Other than that, there's really, you know, we only have 2 people now on my wage line instead of 3, so that came down a little bit. Salaries about the same. Anybody got any questions? There's really not much,
All right, we'll
not
roll
much
it
there.
around, Mark.
Yeah, so this bill, how old is this bill? They just show up after 2 years, or just
What
like what
bill?
happened to Nick?
Oh, you're wait, no, that's our annual Munis bill. It goes up
That's our
about
annual.
10% every year. Yeah, it's not cheap. And we pay it all out of our budget.
Mhm. So, when we had Bonadeo Group here,
Yeah.
and I asked a statement, did the last administration set up this administration for failure in the beginning? And you stated that we should have been growing the budget 1 to 2% every year, so we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, that was my opinion, yeah.
Yes.
I
And, I mean, you're my favorite comptroller, you always have been.
agree.
No, really, and you know that. But as, you know, these are stuff that's gotta be put out there, because we're in a situation now that we might have to put 25% on the taxes of Utica because of the failure of the last administration of not doing the right thing. And it doesn't
Well, if I would call it a
happen.
failure or not doing the right thing, though, I think it was just because the city was doing well, and perhaps they just didn't want to put the burden on the taxpayer. Was it right? No, I don't agree that it was right. I do think they should have at least raised it a couple percent
Well, I
each
mean, you
year,
gotta-
but, I mean,
this-
it's a moot point at this.
I know, I
You
understand
know?
that. I mean, this is what we're dealing with now,
Right.
you know, and,
But you're also dealing with things that have gone up exponentially, like
Oh,
a
sure.
20-something% retirement bill. You know, I mean, healthcare, 10, 15%. I mean, you know, so it's, who
And-
anticipates that?
yeah, no, I get it. So it's, you know, just like,
Why doesn't nobody else understand?
Diana, here's the biggest problem that I have, and this is.
Wait,
where
wait,
I'm
well,
going.
Mark has it.
If-
You'll get your.
If you look at the
Sam,
24 budget,
Sam, please.
Jack, I have not talked in 2 days.
I know, but-
Okay,
but
so let me
let's go
finish
around.
talking. In 24, if you look at these numbers, just in the police and fire and the general city employee benefits, okay? The city was under budget, $1.7 million on those lines, okay? They didn't prepare us for these budgets.
Can we get a page number on that, Councilwoman?
This is the 2024 budget. If you go back and you look at these numbers, the city knowing what their bill was, because they get it from the state, and they get it from where they're supposed to get it from. Under budgeted those lines.
Well, we
by
actually,
$1.7
we
million.
actually under budgeted last year, and that was actually, I guess you can blame me for that, but I
No,
was
this
going by a
this was in
projected.
24. I'm not saying that those numbers.
No,
that you
I
gave,
know,
I
but-
don't know who gave who what numbers.
No, I mean, it does come from the state, but it's a projection.
But so on top,
And-
but on top of
and
that,
last year it did
1.7
come in about
yeah,
half a
but that was
million
20 I'm
this
talking
year,
about This is
actually.
the end of 24.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the end of 24. All right, we caught up on what we were supposed to in 25, 24, 25,
Right,
25,
right.
26, okay? This was a bigger problem, okay? Not only the fact, to Mark's point, that you overspent, you didn't budget properly, you hid money, you underestimated your expenditures, knowing that your revenues were going over. I mean, it's a crock of crap having to listen to all this, to be quite honest with you, because it's disgusting that you still have people defending what happened in the last 2 years.
Back to you.
so before I was really interrupted, no, so what I'm getting at is that, you know, I just think we got ourselves in a pickle because of what happened in the past. And now we're dealing with it.
No, I agree with
And
that.
we gotta fix it, and we're gonna have to cut and do something to get back to normal again. And as I've been saying all along, for the last 11, 12 years, we have to grow the budget, because we're like a household budget without the groceries. Just like you said, everything has gone up, from retirements to gasoline, to salaries, union, contracts, and we did nothing about it. And everybody agrees in here, because we all talk about sidebars, that we always should have grown the budget by 1 to 2%. And I remember putting a resolution in, probably 10 years ago, that to keep the budget under the COLA or at the COLA. These are for the fixed income people in the city, you know, but I was told by the previous administration and the previous before Heather Moat, that they said, oh no, we can't do that. And I says, why not? I said, and these people get a COLA every year, then it's fixed income. You know, say they get a 3%, we should keep it below 3%. That way, the money they received on the fixed income doesn't go away to taxes, because everything's gone up. And of course, I was shot down by the administration. I said, we gotta grow the budget 1.5 every year, because we wouldn't be in this situation. One year, we gave taxes back, which was ridiculous. That was an election year, okay? And it's just, it was wrong, you know, because now, you know, as, you know, this is, maybe it's just politics where to make the Republican Party look bad, okay? Because he came in, because he had a Democrat mayor in there for 12 years, you get a Republican in there now, all of a sudden, everything hits the fan, you know? And that's what I'm trying to get at, you know? It just bothers me that we did this, or not we, them, and now we're in a situation. We did 14 last year, now we're looking at 9. That's 25% in 2 years. And it's just totally wrong. It's totally wrong, all right? But, you know, they're trying to put the blame on Mayor Galimi when it's not his fault,
No, it's not his
because,
fault. No.
all right?
I
And
don't
that's
put-
what we
I don't
need
put
to,
the blame
that's
on
what these people need to know, because they're thinking that Mayor Galimi is just, he's just jamming everything up, you know, and it's not right. It is not right. It's false advertising, all right? And that's what's happening, you know, and I know the 5 Dems in here, they love it, you know? They love it, all right? And that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, you're the comptroller, or you're not the comptroller, you're the deputy comptroller, you know, but not one time have we were talked to by any comptroller, say, listen, you need to raise this by 1.5 every year. It was just done, you know, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, because we thought everything was running fine, you know, but it wasn't running fine. We found out more and more that we overspent on paving by a few million, and it's not right. And it just bothers me, because you're trying to make some guy take the fall for someone's failure, all right? And I don't want the guy to come back thinking he's the knight in shining armor. I'll fix everything. No, you're gonna do the same thing all over again, okay? But that's all I have to say. It just bothers me. Okay? That's it, Jack.
Joe, you're up.
Yeah, so just tell me, you mentioned Munis.
Yep.
That bill you have to pay for Munis?
Yep, it's for next year, yeah.
Remember when I first started on the council, they told me there was gonna be a computer room that we can access Munis. Can we still have a person from the council? Can we access?
They're setting it
Yeah.
up for us.
I thought you had a,
Oh, there's a
yeah,
computer in there.
Yeah, but the login to the Munis doesn't work, so they have to change it, they have to change the
Katie
password.
says it works.
I can get, yeah.
Oh, so
They
then
have
why
that.
didn't you tell the clerk's office that? Because they've been looking, trying to find out this
I was
information.
gonna say, I thought Brian gave you
I
a
don't
sign
know.
on and a
I've
I've
password.
been asking Andrew, Melissa, they've had to go up to Frank Patulo. I mean, if you had the login information, somebody must have changed the password.
They gave
Because the
me the
last
login.
password that they had, they did not have that.
Okay, Ben gave me
Yeah,
that.
Brian.
I'll send
Okay,
it
so
to you.
Ben, we've been trying to find out this information.
Who's Ben?
I have no idea, Katie's
Ben
friend,
and
she's
I-
got a lot of
He's one
friends.
of the IT.
Ben is the contractual service
Yeah, she must have a
IT
good
person,
relationship with her,
yeah.
Because Frank Patulo didn't even have this.
Yeah, and Brian McCluskey in our office is the
Yeah,
Munis
Brian gave
admin,
the-
so
the
he
last
would,
passcode that Brian gave us and the last one that the clerk's office had, it
it
was
still
not the
doesn't
accurate
work,
one.
okay.
So you
So we'll
don't
have to
have
get a
it
hold of,
right now?
we'll have to get
You
it
don't
from
have it?
Ben. No, we did not have it.
I'll send it to you all right now.
Okay.
That's why people shouldn't be talking individual departments. If Frank Patulo doesn't have that information and Ben does, that's a problem.
Not really relevant to controller.
No, it is, because.
Okay, so you're gonna send it to me, right?
Yes. and
Thank you.
controller.
Okay.
The
Ben,
password
it's
was
next.
changed.
It has to.
Must have been from
Manny,
Ben.
you're up, thank you.
Okay. You know, I've been sitting here listening for 2 years, and I think that it's a shame that our administration that's been in for a year and 3 months that we're still talking about what happened years ago. I mean, I haven't heard anything about what's been happening for the last year and 3 months, except for you want to raise the taxes another 10%. Now, we raised it 13.9 last year, and now you want to raise it 10%, and everybody wants to sit here and defend the mayor. We can't defend the mayor. He's been in there long enough to know what he's doing. At least that's what he says he knows what he's doing. And from what I'm hearing and from what he's saying, he wants to raise the taxes again next year and the year after that. So what are we doing here? Are we going to defend him because he's a Republican? Because it seems like the Republicans, and since you're being, honest, Mark, it seems like the Republicans are going to defend him no matter what he does. 13.9, and you guys forgot that 13.9 is what we worked and agreed to. But Samantha, nobody wants to talk about the fact that that wasn't what he wanted last year, was 17%. And we agreed, with the council agreed, and the mayor agreed that it was gonna be 13.9. And nobody talks about that on the radio. They talk about the 13.9, but he actually wanted 17. And he still hasn't told us, as a council, what did he do with the money?
Well, Mary did 18 his first year.
That's all right, we're talking about Galimi
So,
now.
Venice, number one, let me just interrupt really quick.
Palmieri is not in office, Galimi
So wait,
is.
I
And I
understand
asked
that.
you, what did he do with the money?
So,
that he got
number one,
the
you're saying
13.9.
we are all in favor of cutting this down. We didn't go on the radio and say we're voting no to this and no to that.
Right.
I called a meeting for 3 weeks.
Well, what did you say?
And none of yous came.
And what did you say on the
None.
radio last year?
What did I say?
When you were supporting Galimi?
That was last
Did you
year.
say
I
anything?
absolutely supported him.
Right.
Yes. I ain't
And when we put
supporting
in
now.
and we put in the amendments to the budget to bring it down, none of you agreed with it, right?
We voted with
So
some of your amendments. but you're-
Don't
your
get mad,
amendments-
don't get mad
I'm not
because,
mad.
well, don't get
I'm not getting mad
upset.
at all.
You said we're on the radio. You guys were on the radio all
Listen,
last year.
Venice has the floor.
You got-
He's been respectful to everybody on this council
You
right
guys
now.
were on the
If he
radio
wants
all
to
last
talk,
year.
we've heard everyone else talking. Nobody's interrupted anyone.
You guys were on the radio all last year, defending the mayor, defending the tax increase and everything. And now this year, you want to get mad because somebody from the Democratic Party said, we don't want to, we don't want to. Well, you had to be mad. You just mentioned something.
Hang on, I didn't mention a thing about it.
And I'm still talking, so
Okay.
you wait a minute.
I will wait.
Okay, thank you.
As long as I get a
So we need to have a little bit of conformity here. If you guys are gonna do that last year and then get mad at us this year because somebody don't want a tax increase,
They
I
told me
mean-
they were voting no on the budget, voting no on that, and they weren't putting any budget amendments in.
so what?
To me, this is a waste of
How many
time.
did you put in last year?
I put in actually to decrease it more than you did.
And how many
you
got
put
vetoed?
87 in.
And how many got vetoed?
Yeah, vetoed because you wanted to add
All of-
$300,000.
All of them got vetoed, so don't even try that.
Add $350,000.
Thank you, I'm done.
To the
Okay.
tax?
Jack, can I just say one thing, and I'll be quick?
I'll give it to you at the end.
Okay.
Frank, you're up.
County. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. You guys would have done an extra $500,000
let's-
for the whole plus if I supported your amendment.
Thank you, the
All
next
right,
person should be
everybody calm
talking.
down.
Thank you.
Relax. Okay. I'm still puzzled by the 1.3 million that we didn't pay for a year and a half. How did they keep the lights on without shutting them off?
1.3.
Well, no.
Oh, no, was it?
180.
180 million, whatever,
You talking about the
180,000.
NIPA? No, that's a loan. That was a loan.
Oh, loan.
I mean, the lights
NIPA.
are, the lights are set.
It came in at 160-something thousand, I think.
And you
is
didn't
what
pay the
we-
loan for a year and a half and nobody came after you.
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
How does nobody come after you if you own
That's
100?
what we wanted to know. It's like all of a sudden they were, they.
How's
came after
nobody
somebody.
up-
From NIPA we're talking about. They just all of a sudden they got.
Somebody owes me $180,000.
You're gonna go after it.
I don't care how big my company is.
So, yeah.
Go ahead,
But
Frank.
But yeah,
besides
no,
that,
we
just,
wanted to know that as
Yeah,
well, but
we had the same question.
we're on a good page now. They know, they send me the bill, they send Nick the bill. Everybody knows that it has to get paid every month and going forward, we'll make sure it's paid, but.
I know,
yeah.
but you didn't know, he didn't know.
No,
Mahoney know when he left?
Well,
possibly, I don't
it
know.
was paid, right, it was paid all the way up through till he left.
To levy, yeah.
So he was doing his job.
They just skipped
Yeah.
town, huh?
Yeah.
It was in his email.
No, it was in his email.
Now they all, they, to get this right, they left way before their term was over, before the year was
Mahoney
over.
left, yeah, Mahoney did, he retired, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right,
All set, Frank?
yeah, well, that drives me crazy out.
Joe, you're up.
Thanks. First, just a comment that one side is absolutely loving that comment. After 14% last year and nearly double digit this year, I'll tell you what, there's absolutely nothing about this that I'm absolutely loving. This is actually brutal to have to go through and do and cut and go through line by line. That's all. With the comptroller's office, on page 21, financial statement audit, can you speak a bit about that in terms of increasing costs this year compared to last?
Unfortunately, we budget we usually go over because they come in with extra. Actually, I think we're probably gonna go over again. bond deal.
The 442 line.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I budgeted what I thought it was gonna be. Unfortunately, it did go over, so this year I'm hoping
Do we,
half did it this way.
do we contract them on a multi-year basis, or is it year over year?
Yes,
Okay.
the problem is that we haven't RFP for a while. I believe Mayor Collini wants to RFP this year because they've been in for like 10 years.
It's
So
actually against the law.
it is time for a change.
Okay.
OSC doesn't like to see the same auditors in there for, you know, a period of time.
Okay. Generally speaking, speaking now to total assessed value of properties within the city, it says page 1 of 1 at the bottom of the annual estimate. It's on the front end. It doesn't have a specific page number like the rest of the lines do. Yeah, the tax information. So, we see in the left-hand column 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we see number 8, and that's wholly exempt for a total assessed value of $594 million. Does the comptroller's office have an opinion on that
Well, I mean,
number
those are
of
usually
wholly exempt properties?
as far as I know, are things like churches.
Sure.
you know, hospitals.
Any opinion on ways to, not tax, I don't want to use the word tax, but fees associated perhaps
Well,
with
I mean, there
with
are
those wholly
certain
exempt
fees
properties?
I think they have talked
I
about.
assume maybe some are pilot program, like the payment in lieu of taxes, so my understanding is these are wholly exempt from property tax. Doesn't mean you're
Right.
not just receiving
Right, and that's what I'm saying, a lot of them are, they would be like churches. and
Right.
There are a lot of pilots, yeah.
And you mentioned the audit. I think in the audit itself, we had a list of properties, or number of properties, I think it was like in the 50s, where they're exempt properties, but pilot properties, you're still getting payment in lieu of taxes.
Correct.
And I think it had the differential of payment in lieu of taxes we're receiving, let's say, figure A, and we would be receiving figure B, so we could see that, the
Right.
difference in what we may be missing out on, if
But
you
the
want to put it
pilot-
that way, I suppose.
The pilots are always given to attract the business.
Sure, okay. And, looking through departmental income, is there any opinion from the comptroller's office regarding, fees associated with certain, we'll get to our codes commissioner, let's say for fees we charge for building permits,
Talked about raising fees.
because, in looking at some of our charter code where, building permits, for example, I think the last amendment was maybe in 2013 for those fees. So, over a decade, there are other things that stick out where we may be able to increase fees. And I understand some of the fees.
It's not my turn yet, but
Sure.
I'd be glad to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Because we've thought about it, we've increased some, like if you look at and I'll show you a chart later, but you look at our electrical inspection fees, we went from about $10,000 a year to about $70,000 a year just on a fee change. The problem is, usually we want to replace costs, like they had to get an inspector anyway, now we just made that inspector be part of the city. So that's why we've had ideas like having an elevator inspector before. Straight raising building permit fees. Sounds cool when you look at it at a per rate, so it's $1.03 per, $100 or whatever. But then when you get these really big projects, you got some people paying us $350,000, $400,000 building permit fees. Now that's part of their, and Brian will tell you, it's part of their cost benefit analysis and whether they want to do business.
So what they take into consideration before even starting a project?
I always said that if
Okay.
we want to change building permit fees, then we should comprehensively study where we are right now as far as the competitive climate that we exist in the state, our sister cities, the competition around us, Rome, right? And then we'll look at it and make sure we're somewhere in range of them. I don't want to range it to make us not competitive in the construction.
Sure, and to your point, Marcus, I appreciate that, and and I understand some of the fees are, the council is unable to adjust the fees because state law prohibits it, but, to the extent the council is able to adjust and raise fees that maybe haven't been raised in a decade to keep up with, inflation, different things like that, definitely interested in conversations with the comptroller's office.
We certainly talked about raising certain fees. And Bill will always say, people will come in and say, oh, I don't have my tax bill, I need copies. And sometimes they come in with 20 properties. He said, I think we should charge them $1 copy. Okay, that would be great, but what about the little old lady that comes in and she just misplaced her bill and you're charging, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just, little things like that, and how much is that really gonna
And that's it. But in a budget year like this, I think maybe we have to consider, even if they are small potatoes separate, you know,
Yeah.
things do add up, but just talking through this. But I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Sure.
Thank you, Jim. Bob?
Thank you, Diane, for coming. I have a question about the audit.
Yes.
Do we have to do a complete audit, or can it be a compilation, or can it be a review? You know, are we required to do
We
a
are
particular?
required by OSC, yeah, by the Office of State.
Because I know with the more intense audits comes the higher price tags, and that's why I was just,
More aggravation for me.
you know, because when I was at the Elks, we used to do an audit. And they wanted us to do an audit, and we did a compilation.
Right.
And it was a lot cheaper from the accountant, and that's why I wanted to ask you if we were required to do the intense.
We have to do a full audit.
Is that federal funding?
Very good,
It's, yeah, I think it's something to do, yeah.
very good. But that's the only question I have for you, and seeing as I got the floor, I like to say something. I can remember when I first got on the council, Councilman Williamson, myself, and Councilman Moody went to the budget director, and we talked about 2% increase in taxes because of cost of living, and she told the three of us, without a doubt, that was unacceptable, and we felt back then, and I was new to the council, there should be a cost of living raise. And we were looking at what, 1.5 to 2%. And it just fell on that, and I just want to stick up for Mark because Mark's been there, and I was with him when we talked to and you know, and I don't want to play games, Democrats against Republicans, because that's not who I am. You know, anybody in this room knows who I am. You know, you do the right thing. I didn't say I would vote no against the budget. I wasn't in favor of budget. That's a difference. You know, I was looking forward to working with the amendments. I thought last night we were staying. I'm hoping tonight.
Because the guy ran the meeting, ended it before.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm hoping we can stay tonight and maybe
No,
talk
no
about
use
some.
staying tonight. You guys do your thing, we'll do ours.
Well,
You're staying now.
I don't think.
thank you. Thank you very much, Diane, for
That's one of
coming.
these guys.
Katie, you're up.
Yes, thank you. When I look at the subscriptions, would ImageMate be under ours or your office or assessor's office?
I'm not sure who pays ImageMate. I thought that was your office.
It's my.
Is there another
it comes
tier?
through, hold on. I think we just sat down about this with ImageMate.
Yeah, it wasn't ImageMate though.
Well,
That was the
Well,
ARC.
that was
That was the
actually-
ARC GIS.
Right, but we were talking about the ImageMate. Was it the assessor's office or something?
I think the assessor's
Oh,
office.
maybe it is the assessors, yeah, I
but
think
there's
you're
only
right.
like $6,000 here. Do you think that's all it is?
Yeah, because it's connected to GIS, so they use ImageMate, they feed each other.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're right,
So it's
you're
a
right.
split bill.
He's right.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah, the
And
assessors.
I just want to speak to, you brought up how retirement costs, and I think a lot of people, when we talk about the budget, 2023 to 2024, that budget year, to now, retirement's gone up 49%.
Yeah.
That's $4.2 million of new expenses the city's never had to pay for, and that is a very realistic part of this, and I do understand why taxes do have to go up some. I don't think they should go up 25%. I'm not advocating for that. I think a lot of people also misunderstand that, yes, expenses have gone up, but our sales tax, I know it's plateauing now, but if you look from 2019 till now, millions more, which is great. But thank you. I've learned all this because your office has been so accessible and helpful, and I just wanted to thank you for that. I have no other questions, so.
Okay, great.
Jack, I want 1 minute.
Yes?
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, you talk about last year.
Right.
And I supported the budget last year. He was a new mayor. I watched everything for 4 years that I was on the council before. I watched everything that happened while the people around me supported. Jack, you're not going to listen?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so why? Because it's the truth. So I watched it, and I was a gentleman and never said anything. So yes, when there was a new mayor, I supported him last year because it needed to be done. Now you want to talk about this year? You want to talk about the radio? Did you listen to what I said on the radio? Absolutely did not support a 9.7% raise, and none of us did here. When we left here 3 weeks ago, I wanted to go through us together, okay? Next thing I know, we had budget meetings with, like we always do. I sent an email out to all of you. No, you responded and you responded. That's it, okay? So then I hear people on the radio who don't even understand a tax cap, okay? Number one, it's 1.4, okay? If you get it down to 2% and you vote no against the tax cap, you're burying the taxpayer, okay? So if we ever could get this budget down to 1.4 or 2%, okay, you would be, you're better off voting to pass the tax cap and not pass the budget. That's all I'm saying. I ain't against any of you guys. We fight, we go back and forth. It's been going on forever. But I tried. I tried to meet with all yous and sit down piece by piece. And it's not gonna, obviously, last night, the meeting before it ended, what'd you say to me, Venice? Or Joe, where's Joe? What'd you say? Why are we going? I didn't hear anybody end the meeting. He walked out and left.
Right.
Okay? So nobody wanted to stay here because they got it in their head, we're voting no for the tax cap and we're voting no to the budget because they think they're gonna hold the mayor hostage. That's the bottom line. So let's just go on with it. We'll do our stuff and we'll all work together because 9 of us on this council are not gonna accept a 9.75 tax rate. And you know what? That's a guy I support up there, okay? And I'm doing what's right for the people who put me in this seat, okay? I can't say to people who were here for 12 years in a row did that. A lot of them just yes it to death. So let's don't talk about what happened in the past. But part of what we're doing is in the past. This debt, when we bonded for fire trucks and we bonded for plows, it never got pushed. They held it and put it on this person. So it is part of that administration. I get your frustration, but it is part of it. And people need to understand that. So that's it. We need to work as a team. We're going to have our stuff. We vote on what we have to do, and it is what it is. You need to have realistic amendments too. You want to talk about sales tax? Where are we on sales tax? We're close to hitting what we were budgeted, correct?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
close.
So if we listen to one of the,
4% over from last year.
if we listen to one of the amendments was 350,000 over, we'd be in worse shape today if we did that from last time.
Well, if you had the
Okay?
cannabis.
The
we won't- that's
cannabis
not
was
true.
included in the sales tax.
Right, so what she's talking about is.
Okay, and you're not, where are we to
Cannabis is
date?
coming in as
Where are we to
6,000,
date with cannabis? About 150,000, correct?
We just got another payment of like $60,000.
Okay,
it's-
so we're a little bit above it, okay?
Yeah.
So we're not, I mean, it's not where, what did you want to put cannabis at? 250,000 farther than we did it.
150,000.
More, and we're not gonna hit none. Okay,
We're
so-
already over the
okay,
150.
all right. We're gonna
That's-
say
so
this,
that was
say
true.
that. The bottom line,
But
let's
those
get
were
through
real
this.
amendments.
And let's work together and let's get through it. That's the bottom line here. We need to end all this nonsense. She's right, you're right, and we need to get together, okay? And you need to understand the tax cap. You need to understand it. Because guess what? All 90 is here. If you could get a 2% budget and pass it, would you pass it? Okay? And you'd screw the taxpayer if you didn't pass the tax cap. And I want that on the record so everybody knows. Marcus, do you agree with that?
I'm not an accountant.
Okay, well, anybody, okay, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? If you passed a 2% budget or a 2.5% budget, but you didn't pass the tax cap, you would hurt the taxpayer.
I'm still not.
Can I respond to that? Because I'm getting calls from taxpayers saying that they don't want it raised at all. So
Okay.
that's
Okay,
where.
well, that's, well, yeah,
If
okay.
you don't put the
But
budget amendments in, unit number 2, the money that you don't put in that tax levy goes into
Well,
account.
as long as we're
And then
airing our
you still
grievances.
have to make up
Last
that
year,
budget.
are you guys willing to actually work on budget amendments this year?
Katie,
Are we
you're
gonna
a
vote on
clown.
them?
Your amendment.
Right.
your
As long as I know you're not
amendments are
serious
clown
about this.
amendments.
You do your
As long as you're not serious about this. I think some of my other colleagues are, hopefully this year, but we'll take a look at that. Can we talk about to
I'm
the,
not gonna watch myself, Jack. I've had enough. You went through 80-something amendments and they were a joke. You ended up with 3 because none of them made sense. Okay?
The bottom line is, everybody's gotta work on some amendments. Do the best you can.
Well, let me ask
Come
you
in here with
something.
your amendments,
Yeah, we can
and
get
we'll
that.
all look at them, all right? Everybody
Now-
work hard.
Now, I
Do
received
your
an
best.
email maybe a week or two ago with amendments, and it only had Republicans on
I
it.
did.
Right,
And the
right.
reason that I did that is because you're a person on the board of E&A, went publicly and talked raises before we even seen the budget.
Right.
So to shut
As
her
a-
up and to shut everybody else up, I took the raises out of the budget, because that was ridiculous to even talk about.
Well, you could have
And I
did that
did
when we
the-
met.
What's
And
that?
you did the same thing she did. You could have
No,
did that when we met.
I was on the
didn't
board
even
of
have the budget
E&A.
yet.
Look,
We
if
didn't have the
you,
budget
if you
yet.
tell me we're gonna work together to do
Yes,
amendments,
I did.
and then you send me amendments and only Republicans on it, that means we ain't working together.
You could add your name to it, but you.
I could have added my name to it, but I didn't, I'm talking about meeting together. We were supposed to meet, and we
Because
didn't
I'm
do
on
that.
the board
That's the
of
bottom
E&A.
line.
That's why.
All right.
We didn't meet
Samantha,
together though.
why don't you stop? Hey, listen, Joe.
You know I would have supported that.
All right, let,
Okay.
listen, let's stop, or I'm gonna end this right now if we don't. All right, I'm gonna end it right now if we don't.
End it, please.
Joe, you had something else going?
Yeah, just on the
Yeah.
cannabis
I
tax
don't get that.
collection question. So my understanding of sales tax collected from the state bi-monthly, from the county quarterly, is that the same schedule for the cannabis tax, or are they on a different?
Cannabis comes from the county, it's a little, it's off, I think, just, like a month or something, I'm not sure.
Okay, I was just wondering, just
Yeah,
for,
but
out
they
of
just
curiosity, the
report.
schedule. Okay, I appreciate it, thanks, that's all. Yeah.
Any last questions for Diane?
Thank you so much.
Keep your head low, get out of here.
I know, I'm out, I'm starving. You're welcome.
All right, Brian, you're up.
Fantastic. I am here for Urban and Economic Development, which starts on page 103 and runs through 112. That's the federal funds that we receive, Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grants, as well as the Urban Renewal Agency, which is page 119 and 120, which the board has already approved, but is included in this estimate for the information purposes of the council. UED, as I said, is based on the federal funding. We have not been provided as of yet because Congress has not passed a budget for this upcoming year. They are still working on what's called a continuing resolution until I believe the middle of March. So we just used our current year's numbers primarily. Those will be changed or altered as we move forward, and we and are alerted to what Congress actually allocates, assuming those funds are allocated. URA, you'll notice, depends on a very large appropriation from its fund balance. We currently have about $550,000 in the bank. However, on Friday, we're cutting a check for the purchase of the Northland building, which we took by eminent domain for $193, so that's going to be cut in half primarily, leaving us with about enough to operate for a full year. In terms of the future of URA, we're in discussions. I'm in discussions with Stephanie Giorgio from Corporation Counsel's office. We have somewhat of a plan in terms of moving forward that we want to discuss with the mayor before bringing it to the board and then to this group. However, it still basically handcuffs us and does not allow for us to make any real revenue from the sale of properties because that has been affected by the U.S. Supreme Court decision. So with that, if there's any questions.
I just want to thank your team. You guys are always super helpful. I know with the public hearing for Section 8 back in January, I just learned a lot, and with all the vouchers, and I hope those programs keep going. I'm trying to, for the CDBG grants, when are the applications due for those?
I'm glad you asked that. It's on the city website right now. If you go to our department and then look at community development page, the application was just put up, I believe, Friday. I can send it out to all the council people as well. That's basically the application for not-for-profits who are looking to fund public services with CDBG, where the applications are due, I believe, the first Friday in April, but it's on the application.
And how shortly after that are they announced? Who gets what awards?
The annual plan, which details exactly how the city intends to spend the dollars, comes out has to be submitted to HUD within 60 days of them, the feds telling us how much we're due to receive.
Yeah.
So it's all dependent upon Congress and their process,
Thank you.
their budget process.
And for all the, I know the property sales, we were kind of, our hands were tied there for a little bit with the SCOTUS ruling. But is there any updates from our like corporation council or anything of making headways of what we can, like just get these things back on the tax rolls? I know we don't have to make profit off of them, but.
At this point, we don't have any properties anyway. We don't have anything in our inventory, and the latest foreclosure list that came from the comptroller's office is still sitting on some state Supreme Court judge's desk, waiting to be signed. So we don't have ownership of the latest foreclosure list.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set. Thanks for waiting.
Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for coming. How much money do we have in restricted that we collected, like in the last year and a half, that we haven't been able to touch because of the new? Is there quite a bit of money, or?
I don't have a total.
You don't have
No, but when we became aware that we could be liable to pay that money back to previous owners, it was set aside. But I don't have a total.
Okay. Do you still have meetings, or there's no sense having even having your?
Yeah, I mean, they passed the budget at the last meeting. We don't meet as often just because we don't have any properties in inventory to sell, so.
Yeah, I miss it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe?
Nothing, just to appreciate everything, Brian. I know we chatted about St. Elizabeth's and things like that, so thank you for that. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, Frank.
Sure.
Lennis?
I don't have anything. I was thinking about asking you something, but I don't have nothing. Well, I do have one thing. The CDBG funding, is it in jeopardy of being defunded?
There are massive cuts being proposed by DOJ for HUD staffers that will significantly impact HUD's ability to staff the department.
Mhm.
I have not heard about the president's intent relative to CDBG or home. Those were established by acts of Congress. CDBG was established back in 1974 by the Community Development Act of 1974. I think it's highly unlikely if it requires an act of Congress, because both sides of the aisles have always strongly supported CDBG.
Yeah, I asked you that because I listened to the lobbyist for the Community Action Agency, and he was very down on what might happen to them, because they might give CSBG funding to pay for charter schools and tuition and other things. So all of the community actions nationwide are trembling in their boots because he might take that funding away from them. So that's the only reason I asked.
Yeah, it's. I haven't heard anything.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
I'm good, Jack. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate everything.
You want answers? I want the truth.
No, I'm good.
All right, Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you got way easy. Wait till we get the codes. Woo, see? Right. What happened? You got a special meeting.
Thank you.
I'll send you go to get papers.
So next when? For when?
A week from today.
Yeah. What happened? I can remember next thing.
The board wanted it. I think it's talked about the 1933 vote. Make sure.
Should I start talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to thank the the person that used to run these meetings, Frank DeBrango, for not always making me go last. I think he did a great job. The new chairman, we need to work on.
Well, it depends where you sit.
I sat in the middle of everybody.
Guess who's going
So-
last for the next 2 years?
So Frank DeBrango was an effective chairman, okay? Now, you got big shoes to fill, Jack, and you ain't filling them.
You came late to the meeting, what do you want me to tell you?
Give me a time to be here. All right, it's indefinite. Just show up. One day we'll call you. All right. So I guess we're on page. If you look at page 15, it's something that is small, but it's what the county pays us to do codes, and that's our sort of shared health and wellness programs, and part of that, we're trying to take some steps with the county to deal with infestations. Bed bugs, roaches, we have a lot of them. So I just want you to be aware that that money's there. The council gives us money for that, and that's part of how, our biggest problems right now are abandoned houses and huge apartment complexes. And the infestations in the huge apartment complexes are a problem, and that's some of the stuff we're trying to deal with. So that's done. Page 75, this is where we get to my actual budget. Wages, we saved money, so you might see an FY $20,000. Now we're down to 0 on the building line, so that's the biggest change there. And the reason is because we have a fully trained electrical inspector now. We used to pay the old guy to do it part-time, and now we got a full-time one. Other than that, there's no real changes here. Some requests didn't get fulfilled, but it is what it is. Page 76, same thing. I mean, we have a line on wages there, so that's the biggest change there. That's $25,000. For a few things, it was we had a particularly experienced person. I don't think I want to share the name because there might be personnel rules, but I'd love to tell you guys privately that was looking for part-time work. They could serve as a backup electrical inspector for us. They can help do 1203s, ROPs. So having that extra part-time officer, we would be able to get more of sort of the technical professional stuff done that we struggle with now. And it takes a lot of our department to dedicate to that. I don't know, what else is here? That's about it. I mean, if you guys have any questions, I can tell you. I gave you the chart. This is what we do all day. Revenue, action summaries, complaint summaries. So, anybody got any questions? Where do we go, Jack?
Samantha?
Sure. The only thing that I had is for the building permit revenues. And Venice, where are you going? No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to just clarify, and this is some of the things that we talk about overextending revenues that aren't necessarily expected. For the building permits, the council increased it to $500,000 last year. And then this is in the revenue side. Just as an example of why you don't always support amendments that aren't necessarily necessary. The building permits.
Right on that sheet right here.
If you go to page.
No, she's looking right there.
Just hit it. 10, all right? So the council increased building permits by $50,000, put it up to $500,000. Right now, and this is according to yours, we're probably meeting maybe not even close to that $400,000 mark.
Well, no, so where we at right now is that's about 370, but that's fiscal year isn't over.
Yeah, so
March
even
is
if
our,
you-
March is our busiest permit month, and it depends on what permit we get in March, right? Because I
Sure.
wanna make sure everybody knows what's going on, so I don't get accused of misleading anybody.
No, I'm
So
saying-
like, we got the Eagles Nest project in East Utica, if we get that permit, we're gonna be over $500,000.
Okay.
If we get the permits, the two in the harbor, we'll be over $500,000. If those permits come in April,
Right.
we'll be under.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
So it
you know,
depends on when the
we would've
permits come
been-
in.
We would've been okay at that 400,000 mark,
As of right now, it would be easy, yeah, we would
So,
hit.
I mean, we can't, that's what I'm saying, you can't overestimate revenues unless you know that you're getting.
That's what's so
Because
hard
that
for-
was at the beginning of that, last year that we were supposed to get these permits.
Well, that's what's hard for
prior
me when
months.
people ask me, because I don't know
Right.
when the permits are gonna
But
happen.
that's all I'm saying is
Yeah.
that that's why you might not support amendments that people put in.
I
because
don't
it's-
support any
No, I'm
amendments.
just saying, like, just trying to clarify that that's,
Okay.
that's an actual issue. But I appreciate this pie chart, and that's all I got for you.
Okay, cool.
I do have one complaint though for you though.
Uh-huh.
Who got you that little tiny vehicle to drive around in? Cause your head touches the top of that.
Oh, well, I only drive sometimes, so I drive when an officer's out. Actually, that's a real thing that the council should know. It's funny, I drive that little motor car. When the officers are out, sometimes I'll drive their vehicles when I wanna show I look like an officer, because I wear like plain clothes. So I'll drive their vehicles to go. Normally I drive my personal vehicle. If you include me, there's 3 codes officers that drive their personal vehicles, because they don't have company cars. So if you include me, which I never would, but we're technically
I
2 vehicles short.
I supported you on those.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's like I'm asking people to drive their own cars into neighborhoods to do codes inspections, and it's frustrating. I know. It was funny. I thought it was funny, but I did it.
I had nothing, Jack.
I got nothing, but I just want to thank you, thanks for taking my calls, and thanks for getting people out there. Got issues.
And you notice there's little things that, like, so I gave you the charts and I think questions about them, so I bring it up because, like, okay, so what's the difference? You know, we got new administration, new areas of focus. I mean, if you look, our court tickets are up double. So we used to write about 114 tickets. Right now we've written 224 so far this year. So bringing people to court takes officers and time and everything else. So other things come down, but we bring them to court more now. 1203 inspections, which generates revenue. I mean, we're going to set a record this year for how many 1203 inspections we do. You know, that's because my secretary badgers the businesses, but it's because the mayor wants us to emphasize making sure that all those buildings are inspected. So thank you for thanking me, and that's it. Dennis is there. You good, Frank?
Dennis, you're up.
Codes?
I don't have my car, you give me a ride home?
Yeah, sure. In the little car. Yeah, you might not fit. You're all set?
I'm walking.
Benny, you got any questions?
No, I don't have anything.
Joe?
Joe, you're up.
Yeah, first, thanks for the chart, thanks for coming in. So,
It's a bar chart, by the way.
it is,
Pie chart.
I agree. So,
Come on, Jack.
Marcus, the bottom left, other revenues, so we spoke a little bit earlier about fees associated with, you know, building permits, for instance. Do we see, I'll ask this, what's your take on fees associated with electrical and plumbing at this point?
Okay, so you see how much electrical has increased, went from around like $7,000 to around like 70. They're down this year, like so far, because the fiscal year isn't over. Spring is our busiest month, and it depends on the larger projects. When you're looking at all these things, it depends on if you're writing it for residential versus commercial. Like you want to set the fees, and you want to make sure that you're raising revenue that isn't hurting mom and pop shops that are doing the right thing and pulling permits for putting up their fences or putting in a light switch. But they're charging enough for people that are building a hospital in the middle of downtown.
Yeah, and I think the goal with fees is to hit that sweet spot where you're not losing the amount of people applying for certain things.
For building permits and stuff, right?
You know, but you're also collecting the appropriate amount. And not saying the codes department isn't,
For
but just
large-
trying,
well,
you know
we
what I mean?
gotta
So we're
study.
trying to, yeah.
So frankly, I suggested before in the past that's one of the things that the colleges that partner with us study. Like, how are our fees relative to other municipalities? Because I just don't have the intelligence, I think, or the means or the resources to do a comprehensive comparison to our fees, because everybody charges fees in a different way. So it's not a one for one. I can't say, hey, we charge this, because we charge by the square foot and they charge by the man hour. so what does the bill come out?
What does it equal, like what? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, apples and oranges almost in a way.
Right.
Okay, okay.
So-
Agreed. And just, building permits was brought up. I think that $500,000 figure was actually in the original budget from the mayor's proposal last year. I don't think that was the council's proposal of $500,000.
There was an increase that got turned down.
Yeah, so I think that original 500K, just so we're all clear, right?
Right.
I don't know, I don't remember. I usually bring down fewer past years, like somewhere around 400,000, 425 for the.
I'm just pointing out that I think that was one of the vetoed amendments. Is that your,
That's what,
right?
that's what the point was.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, that's all. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're all set?
Yeah. Am I up?
Yeah.
I have nothing, but I want to thank you for taking my calls and doing what you do for West Utica. You make a big difference.
Thanks.
He does.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Wait,
You guys all know my phone.
my turn?
And you know what? A big shout out. Like one of the things that I want people to know, and I want everybody to sort of just think about and just acknowledge. Well, because I don't get, it's if you look at it like this year, we got 126 snow complaints. Last year we got 1. Like every one of those things that moves our manpower moves our manpower. So when one thing is lacking, it's usually because something else pops up. That's all.
Ready?
First word.
How many cars did you say you have?
Wait, I
There's-
can do the math.
there's 6.
So we're short 2, and I don't count myself, and the secretaries don't count, so we must have 11.
Yeah, and you have 6 officers, but then building is how many?
12. So we must have. So we got 6 and 6, so 12. So we must have 10 cars.
Okay.
Sorry.
10 cars. And then I see the vacant housing revenue is in here. Is that part of your team's plan this year?
Yeah. So I spoke to the mayor about it. I don't know how many people know. So Stephanie's working on writing a new law right as we speak. We've been working on it for months to try to get the council in alignment with vacant housing. I spoke to the mayor about it. They put the revenue in this year's budget. There's still contract negotiations. The issue has always been, do the current contracts compensate them for the duties that we would add with the vacant housing registry?
Right. Would you like add another person to cover this then, or it would
You could
be
add another person, or
just-
you can give increases to people that go now. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? And somebody's gonna have to, not only, it's more the clerical aspect of the job, because that's a huge clerical task.
Yeah, that's all my question with it. Thank you.
Jack? Just want to say one thing to address all you guys. So it was kind of good that we blew our stacks a little bit tonight. We all got it out in the open. Let's just try to respect each other, and let's try to work. You guys do whatever amendments come, whoever brings them, let's have open minds to all of them, okay? And let's try to move it forward and not point fingers at each other. Let's get done what's right, and let's do the right thing for the people, not to try to spite somebody who's in charge, okay? Thanks a lot.
Any last, anything?
4:30 tomorrow, right?
4:30 tomorrow. Closing the meeting.
Second.
State.